So our agenda for this evening is to go over for the overview of the November Amendment is to go over some plan highlights. Excuse me. The capacity program, our capital improvement program that we have for our existing school buildings, the Resolution A program, the minority owned and women owned and locally based enterprises or MWLBE program, the CEC priority project request that Craig was referring to earlier, and field any questions or comments you may have about the presentation. So for our November 2025 amendment, under these four categories, we have a total amount of $20.9 billion. Uh, within the 20.9 billion, we have 6.98 billion allotted for capacity. This is it includes funding to provide for new seats. It also includes funding for our facility replacement program, move schools to new buildings with expiring leases. Healthy schools, 2.30 billion. This includes funding for our electrification program for existing buildings, heating plant upgrades, physical education upgrades, and funding for learning gardens and cafeteria enhancement experience. 7.92 billion for the capital improvement program. This is our typical program that you see at many of our schools. Typically, you could see sidewalk shed or scaffolding. This is our exterior masonry repair projects, our roof upgrades, boiler replacement projects, um, you name it. I'm sure you've been in many schools, seen work going on there. That's our capital improvement program. And lastly, our mandated program. So this is funding that this includes funding for local law compliance, mandates, and building code compliance. Okay, so for some citywide highlights, we have new capacity again for 6.13 billion. This is for buildings or for building new buildings and additions to new buildings.
Hey,
Uh,
Josh, let me just stop you
one,
for a minute. There is a lag between what you're saying and
oh,
what's
when I switch
showing up
pages,
on the screen. So if you,
oh, I
okay,
see
now
it
we're
in
good.
there. Guest
Yeah.
view. I see it in the guest view. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll slow it up a bit. As I mentioned, new capacity 6.13 billion. This is for new buildings, additions to existing buildings, um, and upgrades to existing buildings like um, classroom renovations to uh, increase the amount of seats in existing buildings. 1.40 billion for electrification. So these are upgrades that help reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and aid in providing for a more cleaner and sustainable environment in our school buildings. 1.25 billion for technology enhancements. So this is funding for telecom upgrades to our buildings and helping increase bandwidth of our internet capacity in the buildings as well. 800 million for accessibility. These are upgrades to existing buildings to provide for ramps and, where possible, the installation of elevators. It also includes upgrades to pathways to get to those accessible spaces, like widening the doors, upgrading certain bathroom spaces to provide for ADA accessible spaces in the building as well. 40 million for physical space education upgrades. This is funding to improve our existing gyms, and it could include improved lighting, floors, and other additional safety measures like the padding you see in this photo. And the cafeteria enhancement experience for 150 million. These are upgrades to the cafeteria lines and server areas to make them more appealing to the students by providing brighter lighting and fresher looking food. Okay, I just switched the page. I'm going to give that a second to show up on y'all's screen as well. Give that just a moment. There we go. Oh, 1 second. It might switch briefly. Just happen to touch the arrow key. It might switch back. But so under the capacity program for 6.98 billion that we mentioned earlier, under the four categories, again, new capacity for 6.13 billion. I mentioned that the capacity program also includes our replacement program. This is the 400 million allotted for relocating existing schools where expiring leases to find alternate new sites for those schools to be located. Capacity to support TC removal, 200 million. These are funds that expand our effort of building the capacity to support the removal of temporary structures, especially focused on schools that are overutilized. 51 million for playground redevelopment. So what this is funding the removal of temporary structures where they're no longer needed at the space. Typically, with these playground redevelopment projects, also includes funding to support the creation of a brand new playground once the TCUs have been removed. Lastly, under the capacity program, there's 200 million for early education um, citywide. The next slide is District 2 capacity highlights, which should be appearing shortly. We have a PS at 2 Hudson Square with a total seat capacity of 433, with the anticipated occupancy for September 2029, and a PS and IS at Western Rail Yards with total seat capacity of 686, anticipated occupancy for September 2032. Switching the slide here. Trying to switch the slide here. 1 second. Y'all can still see the screen, right? Oh, I'm frozen.
Yeah, Josh, I can see the screen,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
but
trying to switch it, but it
yeah, the
stopped.
slide isn't moving. I'll see if I
Yeah.
can, I'll get this presentation. Maybe I'll have better luck than you. So keep trying to move the screen. If not, I'll try to do it.
Yeah, I see my video is like lagging. 1 second. Let me just try to turn it off real quick. Sorry, folks. 1 moment here.
We do apologize. I can
Yeah.
try to share.
Trying to.
Are you having any luck, Josh? I can try to share it, the
Yeah, that if you
presentation.
could.
Yeah, all right. Why don't you take down your
Do you
presentation?
want me to try to do it from my computer?
No, it's completely
Yes,
stopped.
Craig. I know we
Not
had
sure if
sent
you
it
can
to
hear
you,
me either.
right?
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. You sent it. It's in the chat, I think, right?
No, that was the face deck.
Oh, is it
We-
did you send it to me? Is that what you sent me? This is what you sent me earlier today, right?
Yeah, we sent it to you earlier today.
Yeah, hold on. Let me find it.
Josh, can you stop sharing? Have you been able to do that? Are you frozen?
Hold on, let me go into my email. Well, doesn't make a difference if it goes faster because I'm waiting for my next.
Technology, man, when it fails you, you're just not out of luck. So
Understood. No, that's fine.
Josh is frozen, not just the
Totally get it.
presentation, he is frozen. And for whatever reason, he can't seem to unshare. But Craig,
Give me
do
one
you,
second, and I will open it up.
and I will finish for him. or I'll make a best effort to go through this. And we appreciate your patience.
Yeah, give me 1 second because here we go. It's telling me it can't open the file, so give me a second.
I tried to share it. It said the multiple presenter problem, so.
Well, I think that's because Josh is probably still.
Oh, I think, okay. He's off. All right, did you find the presentation, Craig?
I did. I'm trying. It's giving me a problem opening it. So hold on a second. Let me try something else. Save it to my desktop. Okay, it's not opening it that way. Let me open it up a different way. Let's try Chrome. Here we go. Nope, still not opening. I'm getting error messages. There must be a problem with the file that you sent me because it's not opening.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share where Josh left off. So let me see if I have any better
Yeah, because I
luck.
tried opening it in different platforms and it's.
Can you see that, everyone? Is there anything visible on your screen? Yes.
Yeah,
All
capital
right.
improvements are on there now.
So we'll see how we make
Okay.
it with this one. Okay, so Josh's last comment was, I'm hoping from this page. Oh, man. No, not that one. He was talking about your capacity programs. We went through that. We went through that. That was his last information. So let's go to capital improvement. So the capital improvement is about work that we do in our existing buildings. And how are these projects generated? Then there are 5 different ways. One is through our BCAS process, which is our Building Condition Assessment Survey. And that survey is an assessment of all the elements of the building, the mechanical, the architectural, and the electrical elements of the building. We manage there are about 1,600 buildings in the portfolio, the DOE's portfolio, and there's a yearly visit to all these buildings to assess the conditions of those elements of the building. After the review, there is an assigned condition, between 1 and 5. Any condition that is assigned a 4 or 5 is reviewed by the SCA, and it has the potential to become a project in the capital plan. The other way is through DSF, the Division of School Facilities, making referrals to the SCA on conditions in buildings where they are not able to manage like a maintenance condition. If it's above a threshold that's been determined by them, which is about anything about $50,000, they will then, and also the condition of the situation, they'll refer to the SCA. We have mandated repairs that we have to make if there's something that comes through in terms of the local law, then it needs to be addressed by the SCA. The Resume program is a program that is funded by your elected official, your council member, or your board president. And then there is the CEC requests that have been referred to many, many times already at this meeting. I just want to refer you again to the deck that we had reviewed with the CEC. It is now in chat. And what are some of the kinds of projects that we complete at the SCA? These are major, major projects. Exterior masonry, window replacement, parapet replacement, flood elimination, roof replacement, accessibility, playground upgrades, auditoriums, and gymnasium upgrades. And, it's very likely if you see a shed at a building, it's very likely that there is a current SCA project or a pending SCA project at that building. So those are capital or examples of how and the kinds of projects that become capital improvement projects. So I'm going to go to the next page. Fingers crossed that this is successful. There you go. So here are District 2 highlights of projects. And you will see that there are lots of categories here. But if you look at the bigger number items, we're talking windows and exterior masonry, the flood elimination, you will see that this is very much in alignment with the SCA strategy for keeping our buildings watertight. When decisions are made about projects, that is the primary, the priority for making something a project at the SCA. Resolution A projects are projects that are capital eligible school specific or enhancement projects funded by a New York City elected official, your council member, or your board president usually. And this is an example of what a Reservoir project is. It's a hydroponic lab in a school building. Just wanted to give you some information on the timeline. I need to change my view here. Let's see. The timeline for these Reservoir project is quite extensive, actually. It has to do with elected officials contacting schools around the January timeframe, all the way to late spring, late fall, early spring, when a decision is to be made by OMB, and OMB release of funds. The thing that I want to point out here is that, schools will say, I requested the money, they told me I got the money, where's my project? It's a little more detailed and extensive than that. Just, we have to go to people for them to release the funding. And one of the other things that I'd like to point out is that we don't start projects unless we have the complete funding for that project through OMB. So please keep that in mind for Resolution A projects. So here are some of the District 2 Reso A highlights. 50 auditoriums for $12 million, playgrounds for $10 million. These are also examples of referrals that you can make to your council member when you're requesting a project. I know that items came in, I need an auditorium upgrade, I need a library upgrade. There's a science lab upgrade or a playground upgrade that's needed. This is a very good example of making a referral to your council member for funding for these kinds of projects. Okay, change of topic here, MWLBE. The SCA is dedicated to increasing participation of minority-owned, women-owned, and locally based business enterprises, MWLBE, on SCA's project, including through MWLBE targets on our projects. We also run a mentor program, which provides key support and access to capital and business opportunity for qualified emerging MWLBEs. So the District 2 MWLB highlights is in fiscal year 2025 in School District 2, the SCA awarded $2.3 million in prime contracts for CIP work to 4 MWLBE firms at 4 projects. This represents 19% of all contracts for CIP work in School District 2. So the topic that has been brought up a bit during this presentation has to do with the priority project request form from the CEC. It's an annual submission. Each November, the CECs are asked to complete a form identifying top 5 projects in their district. Forms are due in mid-January, and there's the email address to forward your forms. These forms will be coming out shortly, and you will have the due date on the form. The recommended consultation and review process is as follows. Review capital eligibility guidelines, ensuring that your project meets thresholds, costs, trades, areas, etc., as determined by the NYC controller and enforced by OMB. And those details are more in that face deck that I posted in the chat. Review the capital plan, identifying what planned projects are already funded in your district. Identify a program in the capital plan that projects might be classified as capacity, CIP, healthy schools, etc. Review projects with your custodian engineer, your DDF, for maintenance and or repair items, and I strongly recommend that. And consult with your principals about projects, ensuring agreement on priorities. The submission guidelines are as follows. You prioritize the 5 projects on the request form. And Craig, thank you for, following those guidelines and, submitting 3. And I know you have questions about them. We had sent a response. The SA does major capital renovations only. Please make that a consideration. For building maintenance or projects that are ineligible, principals can request repairs from the custodian and or their DDF through the Division of School Facilities. Our capital plan presentation, which we're doing now, is the annual presentation, which provides an overview of any changes to the plan and highlights specific projects and funding in each district. And today's presentation is not for reviewing or discussing individual CEC requests or submission. And you know Josh, I'm Event Night. For any information on RESOA funding, if you'd like, if principals need a quote on something they want to propose to their council member, then Mr. Brian McGinn is the contact at the SCA. And then we do have an email for which you can send in some, questions or information on your comment form. And that ends the presentation. I am going to stop sharing. And please, we can let me know of any questions. So, hey,
Thanks.
Josh, you're back.
Yeah, Josh is back. So I'm
Okay,
going to
great.
start
Sorry
off.
about that, folks. That was a pretty insane crash there. But yes, I'm back. Thank you, Yvette, for covering the rest of the presentation.
Thanks. So Josh and Yvette, I'm going to start off. I have 2 questions. The first question is on the new buildings. The second building, which was the proposed combined elementary and middle school. I'm guessing it's by Hudson Yards. You list that as a 2032 move-in date, doors open. It's 7 years from now. Do you have a location? And if you have a location, why is it taking 7 years? I know you have to do design. I know there's permitting, and I know that takes time. But that 7 years seems to be a very long time to go through that process. And one of the reasons why I say that is because that covers an area that I think has a need for a middle school, which is, Hell's Kitchen. It's pretty close to Hell's Kitchen. Their current zone middle school is a great middle school, but it's further down in the village. So I think that would be a welcome addition to the community. So my first question is, why is it taking 7 years to get that building up?
So, Craig, this is, I believe, actually we are fitting out this space. So, or it's this the building that we're looking at is actually privately owned. I believe it's going to be a lease space. So we're currently waiting on the developer to
Okay.
do all the work that they need to do inside the building first before we can actually go in and do the fitting out that we need for the space. So it's currently with the developer. We're of course coordinating with them and trying to confirm when they're going to be conducting that work and completing that work. Our best estimates currently is for September 2032, unfortunately.
Understood. So you're at the mercy of the landlord, essentially, it
That's
sounds
right.
like.
That's right.
Is the lease signed, and how long is the lease for? Because if it's not opening for 7 years, if it's a 20-year lease, that's 13 years of operations before you have to renew. They use it for something, how long would that lease be for? Is that like a
Yeah,
50-year lease, 100-year lease?
I don't know the duration of the lease, and I'm not sure if the lease has been signed yet. I can certainly confirm with our real estate team.
Yeah, I would be
Um,
interested in that. And then the second question I have is
yeah.
a more general one, because as you know, the three requests we put in were denied or at least not going to be done. And my understanding, and I was not on the council that term, but 2 terms ago, nothing was approved either. And I've heard that from other councils as well. And some of us spend a lot of time with our schools and we evaluate with the school community, the principal, parent leaders, what are the needs, and then we spend time evaluating, suggesting, putting this together. But I've heard from our experience and from other councils' experiences that the CEC requests aren't generally ever touched. They're never approved. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done by the SCA. I get it. There's only a finite pot of dollars. But how often are CEC requests actually granted? Because I'm trying to gauge for all the work that we're doing, are we taking, are not just CEC2, but how seriously are the CECs being taken?
Sure. And for I unfortunately could get back to you on the information about how often CEC requests are actually confirmed. Many of the so like the presentation we gave to you folks the other day, um, many of the requests that we do receive from CECs are a combination of a few things. One, maintenance items that can be corrected or directed to DSF to perform those items. Some of the requests are requests that could fall under the Resolution A program, um, which are typically should be you should contact the council members and the borough presidents for that funding. The SCA's prime focus is doing capital work.
No, no,
So
I understand that. I'm talking about of the actual true SCA. I'm not talking about things that you're going to say are not us, are not you. That I
yeah.
get. You can't control that. But
Mhm.
actual true SCA requests, I don't mean to put you on the spot because if you don't have the information, I'd love for you to get back to me. But how many true SCA requests that went to the SCA from a CEC request form have actually been done, have actually proceeded? That's my question. And if you don't have the information now, if you can get, that's fine. I get it because I'm just throwing the question at you. But if you can get that information to me, I would just be curious because I want to make sure that the work that we're doing and all the work that we're spending our time on does actually is meaningful to the SCA.
If I'm
Well,
allowed to just jump in here,
Sure.
we'll get back to you,
Yeah.
and I absolutely appreciate the question. Um, when I'm hearing, I've been here for a while, I've done these presentations in our boroughs, I'm familiar with, as the director now, I see what's going on across the city, and I do understand the frustration. So we're going to get back to you, Craig, and
Thank you. Thank you. No, I appreciate
I
that.
just want to put voice to what I'm hearing is the
Yeah.
frustration around why we're doing this if,
Yeah.
whatever. So I get it.
Yeah. I would also
Mhm.
recommend that you give us actual explanations because you gave me explanations after I had to ask. And again, I know it's your process. I get it. You have a lot of these requests. I'm not directing this frustration at the two of you, but we get something back, as do all CECs, that say, no,
Project
right?
not
That's it.
funded,
And then I
project
went
not
back
funded.
to you and
Yeah.
I said, I don't
Yeah.
understand why. Could you give me more color? And you did. You were very gracious, got back to me quickly. But, if you eliminated that step and you just told us, that would also kind of be helpful because you did point me in a direction, which was helpful.
And we're working on that.
Yeah.
We're
Understood.
working to revise the response,
Okay.
and we're
So
going to be sending something out when
great.
we have finalized that information. So yeah, we get that frustration
Yep.
too.
Yep.
We
So
understand it's not
thank
clear,
you.
and you asked us that in our meeting when we did
Yep.
the presentation, so
Yep.
we understand,
Yep.
yes.
I get it.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask if any of my fellow council members have any questions because I don't want to monopolize the time. Councilmember Bowen.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question regarding the two new sites that you put up, 2 Hudson Square and the one in the rail yards. One was labeled as a PSIS, the one in the rail yards, and the one in 2 Hudson Square was labeled as a PS. When is the determination made as to what type of school it should be? And who has the authority to change whether or not it gets allocated to be a elementary school, a middle school, or a high school or some other designation?
Sure. I mean, it's really all based on seat need for those specific um, school for the specific PS or IS. We do all that analyzing between SEA and DOE on what their needs are. It's a combination of a bunch of factors that we look into on an annual basis. So we're looking at factors of, oh, well, particular trends of um, changes in the community, new buildings going up, people moving in and out of the community. We look at census data, all these factors that we take into account to determine what the seat need is and what we can anticipate and what kind of seats are required for that space. Again, whether that's PS spaces or IS. And currently, these are the two areas of need that we currently have in District 2. Yvette, I don't know if you want to make any additions to that.
Yeah, the decision, as Josh mentioned, it's a collaboration. There's a determination based on seat need. And the decision really, if you would like to change that, you'll need to address it with the DOE or New York City Public Schools. They are the programming entity for schools. But again, as Josh mentioned, the decision was based on everything you mentioned there, primarily driven by seat need. If you would like for them to make another decision, which I would softly suggest is a little late for those locations, you are free to contact the Office of District Planning at the New York City Public Schools.
Thanks for your response. I understand that demographics are shifting over time, and you
Yeah.
guys are planning many years out in terms of determining capacity. I do also look at your time frame for 2 Hudson Square, and I think you have underestimated the time for that building to be built and then turned over to the school construction authority for construction of the school within the development envelope. It is still a hole in the ground for people who live near that site. So I would encourage you to look carefully at what the time frame is for that specific site, because I think it's well beyond 2029.
Okay, thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. And just as a reminder for the council, district planning does come in to speak with us. They came in and I'm working on scheduling that. So they will come in. Yes. But they'll come in so we can ask questions. We're working on the scheduling. Okay. So Yvette, Josh, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. It was a very helpful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to meet all of you, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the first public speaker session. Victor, do you have? I think we have 4 people. Okay, so we don't have a lot of people tonight. Sorry, thank you. We have a lectern, actually, Can we share our microphone? Yeah, we're gonna give that microphone there. We'll share the microphone. Right there, there, each just remind me first. I'll just gonna read everybody else. So, Joe Crowley is first, Omar, they're in second. Third, I'm guessing it's two different. Or Jenny,
Yeah.
I apologize.
Hi, I've spoken at these meetings before. I am a female athlete who wants the girls to have their own locker rooms free from biological males and to have their own school sports. I'm dedicating my speech today to Tish Hyman, a woman who did not want a biological male in her gym locker room, and for that, she was kicked out of her gym. It's appropriate today. We're at the Department of Education's headquarters, and this is the same DOE which killed Resolution 248. So it was unnecessary to pass any opposition to Resolution 248 because Resolution 248 was already a corpse baby killed by the Department of Education. The same Department of Education in which former Chancellor David Banks resigned because of federal corruption investigations. The same Department of Education which did not inform Sauk School parents of its planned merger. This is the same one. And I think some of the new people might be confused about your role here. You're pretty much powerless, except for maybe zoning. You're supposed to take what people say as the community, and despite what Gavin might want you to think, I am the community, and bring it to the Department of Education, which I'm doing right now. And so, Superintendent McGuire, I have a question for you. What about the girls, the biological girls, who are uncomfortable with biological males in their locker room and in their sports? What do you have to say to them? And I ask you, the council, to ask Superintendent McGuire that question, because he's going to try to dodge it, because that's what he does with every question. The corrupt pharmaceutical industry is after our kids' bodies, which I've said before. And what I've also said before is that
That's time.
okay, my final comment is, when you passed Opposition 248, all they did was reiterate their affirmation of their gender guidelines, which is exactly what they did when 248 was passed. And what I meant was, when you passed Opposition to 248, exactly the same outcome happened as when you passed
That's
248.
time.
Next person.
Glad to be back here at District 2. I'm also glad that Erin's feeling much better over the last month. We missed you so much. Especially, like I said, this side of the board knows how to make a good team. Right, Cody? Yes. But anyway, thanks. We need to pass some resolution that would ban the controversial 248 from ever returning again. That's what we need. No more bigotry anywhere. World without. As you know, it's been a couple of weeks since November elections, and of course, a former council member here lost her bid to be Manhattan DA. Yeah, we all know, we're not naming names, but we know that this reprehensible person, the author of 248, lost her contest. And I'm glad that Manhattan have reelected the incumbent to 4 more years as DA. Congratulations. And last but not least, I won't be here next month because I got some priorities, but when I come back in January, we'll see what the plan is for other things moving forward. So happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, happy New Year, and see y'all in January.
Am I supposed to look this way or this way?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jenny Young. I'm a parent at 75 Morton. I also have a elementary school kid at PS 41. And I just want to say thank you so much to the District 2 CEC for giving 75 Morton's parents and families a space to just talk about our beautiful school. My daughter is passing out a little thank you note. It's just from a little thank you token of our appreciation. We really appreciate it. We heard that the word is getting out. We know that there are members on the CEC that when people ask, tell me a little bit about Morton, they said, oh, you should talk to this parent group. So I just want to say thank you so much for just kind of spreading the love. I want to give you a little update on how our little publicity is doing. We have had 10 open houses and tours, and they have all reached capacity, which is incredible. And they're still reaching capacity right now, which is amazing because this is like at the final run. So much so that we had to add 2 extra tour dates. And so the very last tour date, I think, was added like a day or 2 ago, and there are still spots open. So if anybody is wondering what is the 75 Morton that you're hearing all about, please go to 75morton.org and you can sign up for that last spot. Oh, I should tell you the date. It is December 5th at 9:30 in the morning. And then also tomorrow we have an open house. The difference between an open house and a tour is there's no children. But it's at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And we're trying to make it so that everybody who wants to come can come. I think we have 75 people coming, which is amazing. So, but we're trying to make it open for everybody. So I think that is what I want to say. I just want to say thank you. The word is out. People understanding what an inclusive school it is, what a beautiful school it is, what an inviting community. People are understanding that our school meets all kids where they are and then meets them where they are and gets them to that next academic level. So I just want to say thank you again. Thank you for letting us come. And I'm done. Okay, wait. And now I'm passing the mic to my daughter.
Before you do that, I believe there's an email address that prospective parents can email.
Thank
You
you.
know what I'm
Thanks,
talking
Greg. I do. The email address is, Erica, if you would put it in the chat as well. Some of my team members are there. Did she already?
She did.
Okay, it's welovemorton@gmail.com.
Thank you.
And that will get you to a parent body. So if you have questions about drama or sports or academics or who knows what, IEP, kids with 504s, ADHD, which is my family, we will connect you to the right type of parent that has a similar thing, whatever questions you have, and then we'll help you out. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.
And now I'm going to hand this to my really adorable daughter, really smart too.
We're supposed to stand over here, yeah? Okay. Hello. I didn't know I was supposed to talk yet, so here I am. I didn't know until today I was supposed to say anything. All right. I like Morton because everybody is really friendly. Like you can say hi to somebody and then they'll smile at you because if they don't smile, then they're weird. And I had some other things planned to talk about. Oh, the library, right. I like the library a lot. I especially like the librarian. She gives me book recommendations. And I'm in the drama group and I really like having people that like get me because I feel like it's like in middle school, I didn't really have people who really, really got me before middle school, and now I have people who got me. I also like the teachers. The teachers teach you like they talk to you like you're full people. I feel like sometimes adults don't talk to kids like they're full people, but the teachers here do. So yeah. And also, I can't think of anything else to say. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that concludes the public speaker session. I should have noted this earlier. For the record, Councilmember Reed is here. She was late, but for the record. Okay. Okay, so next is the president's report. Keep it brief. I hope everybody had a great October and a great first half of November. Today is New York City Schools. Oh, well, it's fine. I'll use this one. New York City Schools Climate Action Day with the theme of waste. I know many schools had initiatives to honor the day with actual action. Middle school applications are open, and I know, as we just heard, many families are eagerly checking their lottery numbers. Applications close on Friday, December 12th. Offers to be released Wednesday, April 15th. High school applications are open. I have heard several issues with the administration of the SHSAT. I know there were some computer glitches. There were accommodations that were not met. If there are any issues and you're not getting the right help, please, please, please contact us and we will try to help you. We've done that with a few people already. So we know that things happen. This was the first time, I think it was the first time it was computer. So if there are any issues, please, please, please contact us and we can see what we can do to help you. We have contacts, in the DOE that might be able to do so. Applications for all other schools, including LaGuardia, close on December 3rd. Offers released Thursday, March 5th. Kindergarten applications are due open up on Wednesday, December 10th, close on January 24th, offers released early April. Pre-K applications on Thursday, open up on Thursday, January 15th, close on February 28th. In our December CEC meeting, Aaron Gerhant, who's leading the class size reduction planning for the DOE, will be presenting to us. And thank you to the superintendent for organizing that. This is going to be an excellent opportunity to hear how our schools will comply. We have a number of schools in our district that are quite overcrowded, and we hear about it all the time. And I know I've spoken to several parents at several schools about their concerns of how they're going to achieve this important reduction. So it'll be good to hear from Erin Gerhant. The council will, of course, be able to fire some questions at her. And if you have certain questions that you want them to prepare ahead of time, to answer, please email me or Victor and we can get them over to her. Thank you to all the parents and Councilmember Healy. I don't know, did you speak to him at the PEP meeting last time? The last PEP meeting on October 29th to speak about both the busing issue and concerns about the River School. At the last minute, thankfully, there was a temporary extension of existing contracts through the end of the year. So there would be no disruption of service because that was a big risk. There's a ton of work to be done. I think the PEP is actually looking at another contract tonight, which I don't think really makes sense, but I will not editorialize further. But we all know how bad the busing situation has been for years and years. We have the resolution on the busing this evening that Council Member Lindquist already represented. Finally, regarding SALK, as Superintendent McGuire has said several times, and he can probably reiterate it again, the process has been paused while we gather some more information, hear from families, and frankly, see how things take shape under the new administration. So there is no update. And then most importantly, I would like to take this opportunity to wish a very happy early birthday to the woman on my left. Her birthday is tomorrow. She is turning 23, I believe. So happy early birthday. It's just to embarrass you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent McGuire. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
You have to press the button. You want? Oh, and lock up. I'll see soon.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like this way I can be, okay, thank you very much, thanks.
This way you don't have to press the button.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But thanks everybody for having me.
You should be able to share.
Okay.
And turn the microphone on, please.
I think I'm on this one, yeah, so. Yes, thanks everybody for having me and thanks Craig for the updates that you shared there. I will say also that your child's school, if you're looking for questions and answers to the SHSAT, is a great place to go if you have any questions. We have been addressing anything that comes up, and the SHSAT team is, they've really been fantastic at answering those questions quickly for parents, so that's great. So a couple of things, I'll share a few updates tonight, and I will share a couple of preliminary items in regard to class size reduction. We are continuing our core curriculum work and want to be able to answer any questions that you have in regard to that. Our family leadership coordinator and family support coordinator, Tina Yacker and Lolita Kavuri, have been doing a lot of work around Save for College with our parent coordinators. And then, of course, looking ahead to a few different dates that are coming along. But we had another school spotlight visit in October. This time we visited PS42. The mission and the focus for the PS42 visit was really centered on their NEST program. PS42 graduated their first group of students from NEST just this past year. And what's just really fantastic when you learn about a program that is so well supported, that hosts so many resources, it really tells you what is possible when resources come together and groups of people come together and there's real vision for serving and supporting this group of students who are on the autism spectrum disorder or autism spectrum. And so we are looking forward to our next school spotlight visit, which is going to be tomorrow, actually at PS3. And so we're excited to visit there as well. I did want to share a couple things in regard to class size reduction. So currently as a system, we are at about 64%. 60% was the goal for the system this year. In District 2, we are not at 60%, we're at 48%, but the additional funding and reconfiguration and reprogramming in many of our schools did reflect a 22% increase in the number of classrooms that were in compliance, that are in compliance this year. As you see from these numbers, 42% of middle schools and 58% of elementary schools, those are the rates of compliance that are in effect right now. But our schools are currently in the process of looking to the following year. And I'll talk about that on the next slide. But we're going to have another opportunity as a system this year, and schools are going to have another opportunity to really try and meet these two benchmarks that are coming up, 80% next year, and then the following year we are to be 100% compliant as a system. So the city is going about the process of having schools apply for additional funding and support to achieve that 80% or have us work toward achieving that 80% system-wide. Principals received a survey that all principals are completing. Last time around, it was really only schools that felt as though they had a plan that they could put into place. So those were the schools that received additional funding last year. This year, since we need to get to 80% as a system, all schools are going to be completing this survey. And there are a few key points that are on that survey. On the left-hand side here, in which I said a survey to every school that's due on December 3rd, these are like the topics that are discussed in the survey. And then on the right-hand side, in regard to questions, those are really the specific questions that are being addressed. So the survey, generally speaking, asks principals along with their teams to evaluate space availability in the building, really consider the resources of human resources, the people that might be needed and that they currently have in their building to help to implement class size reduction. There's also a special part of the survey that asks schools to consider whether or not there are any room conversions that might be needed to support additional classes. And by room conversions, what we're really looking at are a couple of things. If you want to consider like a very large room that could be split into 2 classrooms, we are not talking about converting library space into classroom space, but large classrooms that could be split into 2, or some of our classrooms have built-in furniture that is getting in the way of being able to fully run a classroom in it. So the removal of a science desk or a demonstration table. They're asking schools to estimate the percentage of classrooms that they feel as though they can bring into the mandated cap for the following year. And then also in the previous year, if there were a school that had received funding, estimate and give a little bit of a report on whether or not any changes are needed. So these specific questions, these criteria here on the survey translate into specific questions, including what is your goal, what's the level of compliance that you think that you can reach, assuming the same space and no change to program. So Some schools were asked whether or not they could, their physical plant could accommodate a temporary building, or whether an annex could be built on. So this is not taking those things into consideration, just really thinking about what level of compliance do you think that you can accommodate in your building, as well as the staffing that is needed and any funding. Of course, principals don't have to come up with a specific dollar amount, but they do have to indicate whether or not there are classrooms, again, that need to be converted. So all of that is going to go into a report by or around December 3rd. And then myself and our team will be taking a look at those reports, ensuring that they're completed, ensuring that all the questions are answered, and then going back to schools if we have additional questions. We really are encouraging schools to be creative with their space. Over the past couple of months, what we have done as superintendent, deputy superintendents, is that anytime we get the opportunity to stand in front of principals, we are bringing in principal colleagues in our district who have been creative with their space. So just this past Monday, we were at the Battery Park City School, and Battery Park City School is a very full school. But that principal was able to do some creative programming and work with her team there. And they've achieved very close to 100% compliance with class size reduction. Next week, Martin Woodard from PS 183 is bringing in a couple of ideas that he has for his building. His building did not he worked with his SLT over the past year. He didn't receive additional funding for class size compliance, but he's got a few plans that he's going to be bringing to his SLT tomorrow. And then he's also going to be bringing to our principals next week to share some of that out. So we're trying to use the resources that we have and the good brain power that are in our buildings. Of course, every building is different, but the more examples of how principals are doing this, the better. We are continuing our work, as you know, around wit and wisdom and foundational literacy, that phonics-based program. I wanted to just share this slide to give you a little snapshot of what is happening here. You heard last year that we had a lot of support from instructional and curricular coaches around the Great Minds implementation, as well as the foundational literacy or phonics-based program. That is continuing this year, but you just see here that the number of days that Great Minds is working with teachers teaching wit and wisdom is quite a bit less. Last year, the number of days was closer to 16 to 18 days per school. I also wanted to note here that we have 6 schools that have 6 middle schools that have taken on the wit and wisdom curriculum. And we have really been fortunate enough to be able to work with Great Minds, and they're providing some direct coaching. We're also visiting all of our middle schools as cohorts of teachers. We take teachers in each of these 6 schools and say that we are going to go and visit the Spruce Street School, or earlier this year we visited Wagner Middle School. And so we've been able to bring teachers along, do some work with the Great Minds coaches, and talk about how the wit and wisdom curriculum is rolling out in these middle school, in these middle school pilot schools. Similarly to last year, when we were in our first year of NYC Solves, we had more days with New Visions, and that's the organization that has been serving as our curriculum coach in middle schools. That number of days is smaller, but we are really working to build capacity on our district team so that we can continue the professional learning and coaching of teachers in our schools. We also note that in elementary school, NYC Solves has not extended to elementary school yet. So we've been doing a lot of work with our curriculum coaches who have been facilitating workshops at different grade levels, as well as providing direct in-class coaching as well for our teachers. I did just want to give people a little sample. You hear that these 6 schools, middle schools, are working on in the wit and wisdom curriculum. Obviously, This text is way too small to be reading on this screen, but we'll share this slide deck publicly. I did just want to highlight the module 1 for each of the 3 middle school grades and just share what the general topics are for each of the grades. So resilience in the Great Depression, identity in the Middle Ages, and poetics and politics of storytelling. And then underneath that are each of the general questions or broad topics that are taught in that first module. Again, this is just the first module, the first 2 to 3 months of the school year, and what is being taught at each of those grade levels. As I mentioned, the Save for College plan is a big part of the work that we are doing with our parent community. Our family leadership coordinator and support coordinator, they meet monthly with our parent coordinators across the district, either in person or virtually. We just wanted to highlight a few stats here from District 2. We've got a little bit over $1 million that have gone out to our District 2 students in scholarship accounts. 42% of families have completed building block 1, which is essentially all kids who, as soon as they enter kindergarten, do have funds that are entered for them into a 529 account. But when families then acknowledge that 529 account and activate it, then additional funds come in. So we're only at about 42%, and we're really trying to grow that percentage of families that go into the New York City scholarship account, activate it, and have additional funds that are brought into their child's 529 account. And I'll mention something about that in the next slide that I think is really important and kind of provides a little bit of the reasoning behind why this whole Save for College thing is even a thing. This number here, a bit under $127,000, is these are funds that are waiting to be claimed. Funds are provided directly to the New York City scholarship account, but alumnus from District 2 schools, people who want to make donations to our students' 529 accounts, all of those can be contributed to Students 529. So we have a bunch of money sitting there waiting. That 127,000 has not yet been transferred into Students 529 accounts because not all of our students have opened, families have opened the 529 account for their child. So I was here last year. There was a family from PS40 that had gathered and donated a bunch of money to current PS40 families. Some of those families had activated their account and added those funds to their child's 529, and some of them hadn't. So I'm assuming that a portion of that is sitting there in that $127,000. So we really are working with PCs to get that word out. And I think that this is just a nice slide to help to emphasize why this is important. If you're looking at different school districts in New York City Public Schools, we see that in the wealthier school districts, about 1 in 3 families have opened a 529 account for their children. In some of the districts with the highest economic need, that number drops to 1 in 115. There are strong data behind students having just a small amount of funds in a 529 account as being critical in kids moving into college and considering post-secondary options. So it's a real goal that we are working toward as a system. It's similar to what I was just saying there too. This is a similar slide to what I shared last month, but I did just want to say that we started our ELL multilingual learner pilot. These are the schools that are a part of the pilot program. I was there earlier today participating in a workshop that was run by National Geographic. The real goal behind this English language learner, multilingual learner pilot is to introduce students who are entering and emerging the earliest L's that are in our school district and really trying to fill up their day with great content, with great curriculum embedded vocabulary. And so this program is being done right now. PS51 it has started the pilot. PS3 has started the pilot. PS343, PECSLIP has started the pilot. So we're expanding that this year. Again, this is curriculum that is being done when English language learners are participating in instruction with their ENL teacher. This is not a part of the core curriculum. English language learners are a part of all the core curriculum, but they have additional supports that are provided directly by their ENL teacher. So this is the curriculum that we're using with them. Again, the font is too small here. I had a rule once that you're not supposed to dip below 20 points, and I clearly have done that. But again, knowing that this is a resource that is going to be available to families here, I wanted to make sure that we had the dates in regard to pre-K, kindergarten, middle school, and high school, when the application has opened, when families can expect to see their child's offer. We did have a question during our last CEC meeting around whether or not there could be more predictive data that is provided to families to help them make a good choice based on their randomly assigned number. And I have this for families who have applied to high school. They may be familiar with this kind of Wi-Fi looking 3 bars here on this slide. That is a tool that the Office of Enrollment is really seeking to expand. They were hoping to expand it for this year, but they are partnering with DIIT and MIT, who runs the algorithm around the enrollment process, and they are going to work toward including more predictive data in upcoming processes. So looking again, they weren't able to do it for this year, working toward that for next year so that families do have more data and information that they can use to help them make a choice around middle school, because that data and that tool is available for high school. And again, just some final dates here for the as we're moving into the winter. And thank you very much for opportunity to share.
Thank you. On slide 13, just one very quick question.
I knew as soon as I closed it that you were going
Sorry.
to ask it. No, it's okay.
It's fine. You have something, and it may just be a typo, and I just want to make sure because I don't always know the acronyms.
Which one is that?
On the ELL program.
Oh.
On the last bullet. I think it was 13. It's the one.
This one?
Yeah. In the last one, do you mean ELL in the last bullet, or is EIL something
No,
different?
you're right. Yellow.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Or it could be a lowercase l.
Okay. Just want to
Probably
make sure.
not, though.
No, I was just
I'm
having
being
a
honest.
conversation with the other
Yeah.
Kelly that acronyms.
I'll keep
sometimes-
it up just in case.
Okay, I do have 2 questions, and then I'll open it up to my fellow council members. Both relating to the class size. The first is on the principal survey. That's supposed to be discussed with the SL. Am I correct that that's supposed to be discussed with the SLTs?
Yes.
How are you ensuring? It's a yes or no. Yeah.
Yep.
How are you ensuring that that's happening, and not only happening, but happening in a meaningful way? Because if I'm a first-year SLT member, never been on an SLT ever before, and my principal, I'm not pointing to any specific principal, but my principal says, okay, this is my answer to the survey for your information, I wouldn't know that I could challenge that principal. So how are you ensuring that there's meaningful conversations with the SLT?
Yeah. So there is a button that needs to be clicked indicating that the principal has consulted with their community around the survey. Now, is that meaningful? Not necessarily.
Right.
And I understand that. I think that what we are trying to do, and I think that class size reduction has become such a topic in the city and in the system, is that we are trying to publicize this survey. It's being written about. I will share this survey. We're trying to get out conversations and recognition that this survey is coming. I think that this is an opportunity for families to question principals and ask them, How is it that you are conceiving of this? We have also, during these meetings in which we're, asking principals to share their ideas, we are asking principals to share how is it that you have engaged with your community. So we're trying to provide good models for how that works. But
Right.
we're not we have 50 different places where we need to go to have
Right.
these. So we're not participating in every SLT meeting, although we have participated in a bunch of them.
One thing that could be done is a targeted email to every SLT member, and this is not a D2 thing. This is really across the city. A targeted email to each SLT member, which I don't think would be hard to compile those email addresses, saying there is this survey. You're on the SLT. Your principal has to consult you, right? Because what you're saying, and you're acknowledging this, that the principal is checking it off. So you're basically relying on the principal to do their job. Most, I think, would, but there may be some that would not or would skirt the issue. So my suggestion is a targeted email to all SLT members explaining that they're supposed to, or they're entitled, I don't want to say supposed to, they're entitled to have meaningful conversation about this survey and about the process. That's just one suggestion. And then the other question I have is on exemptions, because my understanding is there were just a lot of exemptions issued. I don't know if that's more on the high school level. I haven't looked at the individual schools. I know there's a list. How is that affecting District 2 under you, District 2 schools? Who's applying for exemptions? That's going, I think, through the union also. I think they have to be part of that, I think. But if you can explain that process. And are there going to be a lot of schools, do you think, in our district that are going to try to get away with the exemption, go the exemption route?
So the exemptions that were publicized recently are not exemptions that the schools have applied for. The principal didn't have anything to do with applying for an exemption, nor did the community have anything to do with applying for an exemption. It seems to be that these are exemptions that are being applied to spaces where there are construction projects and plans that have been in the works to provide more capacity at that school building or near that school building. We have just a very small number of schools. I think it's 3 or 4. And frankly, there are not necessarily 3 or 4 that require more space. So I think that this is just a first phase of how it is that the city is looking at schools that don't necessarily, or looking at schools that could take advantage of additional capacity that's being built or provided in the area. But we are not yet at a place where schools are, again, working with their communities and trying to decide whether or not they are going to apply for an exemption. That hasn't happened yet.
Okay. I want to give an opportunity for my council members to ask questions, and I just want to remind the 2 students that you are entitled, just like the rest of us, to ask questions. So if you have any, please shoot. Tim, do you want to start off?
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for that share. I'm wondering, when it comes to the small class size mandate and being in compliance with that, we have some middle schools I know about in particular, and a couple of pretty big K through 5th grade schools who are over-enrolled with incredible space constraints, to the point where libraries are being closed and being used as instructional space, as classrooms. Other resource rooms for students with disabilities are being used for offices for teachers or for mini classrooms. Can we prioritize or focus or give extra support, kind of like Craig was saying about the SLT, actually knowing what the hell is going on, right? And being engaged in those conversations, but can there be oversight to those over-enrolled schools, particularly when you have a high number of students with IEPs, and you know that ICTs are out of compliance? It's not 60-40, it's 50-50. You have 17 kids with IEPs in a class of 34. That's not the least restrictive environment for any kid with an IEP, and it's hurting everyone who doesn't have one too. And so how do we get those kids into compliance, into an ICT that actually supports them under the law when there's no space in the school and they're not cutting the amount of students that they can let into the school, right? We've said that before. These are popular schools that everyone wants to go to, so we can't cap admissions, but we're not in compliance when it comes to the civil rights of these kids. So can you take a look at those numbers of ICT numbers and target those schools, like put them at the top of your list? Like, what are you doing to alleviate the situation in terms of small class sizes? Thank you.
Sure. So anytime there is a compliance issue that is related to special education, there are a couple of different structures that are in place in order to hold the school accountable and then also try to work to fix that. We hold the school accountable and look at the balance of students with disabilities and not in a classroom and work with that school to correct that. The UFT does that as well. I will say in the places where we have really worked to come into compliance with class size reduction, the balance of 60-40, 60% of students without IEPs, 40% of students with IEPs, that has in the vast majority of places been maintained in our ICT classrooms. There are some places where the school has really struggled to do that. Whether it is that there are additional students who are enrolled into a zoned school and the zoned school is required to enroll those students. But for the vast majority, I mean, one of the things that has been, I think, really remarkable to see is that the number of classrooms in which we have reduced class size and have been able to stick within that 60-40 percentage is far outweighs the number that is out of compliance. And it's a difficult, it was difficult, but the principals and their teams worked really, really hard to do this. If there are particular places that you think are not on our radar, I would be very, very happy to look at those and have them be on our radar so we can take a look at it. You know, in most of our schools, as in most of the schools across the city, the enrollment has decreased. You know, our enrollment in our district has decreased since the start of the year, as a lot of families and students who are seeking asylum in our city have left. And so thankfully, we have just a couple of schools that are enrolled beyond their capacity. But for the vast majority of them, they are within or below capacity, and we have additional capacity. And they've worked really hard to get their classrooms into compliance. But we are not perfect, but we are working to be perfect, I would say.
Yeah, Councilmember Healy.
Thank you. This is also on class size. You mentioned that some principals have been creative with use of space. We know that the DOE has also been creative in terms of the compliance numbers, because we know that without the exemptions, the DOE actually is not in compliance. It's actually below the 60% if we don't count the exemptions. So my question is, are there middle schools and elementary schools in District 2 that did receive exemptions? If so, which ones? And if so, how would the numbers you gave us different about, 42%, 48% overall district compliance, 42% middle schools, I think 58% elementary grades? How would those numbers be different if we didn't count the exemptions?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I'll be honest that I'm not entirely sure as to how to answer that, because I know which schools of ours that are exempt on the spreadsheet. It's a publicly facing spreadsheet, and which grade levels within those schools are in compliance. But I don't quite know if those were the schools that were figured into this overall city-wide rate of compliance. So I don't know that I can say that exactly. I will say that, as I was saying, during the presentation, is that some of the schools that received exemptions that are on that spreadsheet actually have grade levels that are in compliance already because they have 20 or 23 students in the classroom. So I'm not quite sure how those figured into the overall city number. So I'm sorry. But I'm hoping to learn more.
How many schools did receive exemptions?
I think it's just 3 or 4. I mean, it's 3 or 4 that are on this publicly facing spreadsheet. I think it's 3 or 4 schools that have exemptions. But again, those are not exemptions that came from the school community or were asked for by the school community or asked for by the district. They're exemptions that are a part of a broader plan. They're listed as being related to a school construction authority plan.
Just for the record, could you say which are those schools?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I know 3 of them right offhand, but I think that there are 4. 51, PS 51, PS 33, and the Spruce Street School are 3 for sure. And I think that there might be one more, but I can't recall it right offhand. I didn't look at the spreadsheet that carefully because, we have some other data that are, a bit more detailed for us that say, at PS 212 in class 303, here's how many, students are there, and whether or not that is a school that is or a classroom that's in compliance or not. So those are the data that are most important to us because we are trying to work with the school to ask the questions or, how is it that you could reduce class size in this room? What would it take? We're a little bit, our hands are a little dirtier with that kind of data.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, will those data be available to SLTs when they're looking?
Yes, they could be available. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Lundquist.
Just to piggyback off that, I think the point we're getting at is next year we're supposed to be 80% compliance. Could they just exempt 30 schools and then be like, yay, we did it? I guess the point that we're making is we want the actual data. And I understand that you're saying that it's a little squishier and that this wasn't coming from you guys, but it is, just for the record, it's hard for us to be like, we're in compliance, and to not have the data to actually be in compliance if we just don't want that to be,
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
No, I understand. I mean, I think that we have one of the strongest accountability measures for that in that, parents have been talking a lot about class size reduction and, where people were concerned before the law was enacted. People now that the law is enacted think like smaller class is pretty good for my kid. So we know that we need to work to make it happen.
Ethan.
Yeah, so thank you, Superintendent McGuire. And my question would be like a follow-up in addition to what she was saying is that how much is being put into, into a data-driven approach? Because I think it would be helpful for the council members and for you to all agree on a certain set of statistics rather than anecdotal evidence, I think. So what is being done to make sure that we are gathering more data, more accurate data, so then when we have these meetings that we can talk about the resolutions without having to debate what is the problem?
I would just say that the data is most certainly out there, and it is a very simple report that every single school can push Control P and receive the number of students who are in each class. So those are data that school leaders should be sharing with their SLTs or other organizations within the school so that everybody is on the same page and that the process is transparent, but it is they aren't data that are hard to get. They're certainly very available. I think that, this question more broadly about how it is that the percentage was arrived at citywide is one that we're going to learn more and more about. But it was just, I think, produced over the weekend, I think was when it was first out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sam, Councilmember Lowe.
Hey, thank you very much for your presentation and answering all our questions. This is kind of along the lines of what Tamara was speaking about earlier with regard to over-enrolled schools. What happens in the case of co-located schools where, enrollment may be over-enrolled for one of the co-located schools, but they were historically allotted lesser space. And then, the existing school may have had a larger footprint, but they had lower enrollment, but due to, Hunger Games application for exemption or resources, they were able to acquire more of the space to expand into. How is that managed for equitable distribution of space in those cases?
So there are different ways that people think about over enrollment. There are building capacity numbers that are produced. There are numbers that are produced that are in alignment with the contractual agreement with the United Federation of Teachers. Can't go over 32 students in first grade, can't go over 25 students in kindergarten. Those numbers actually are still very much in place, even though we are trying to come into alignment with the state law. But until the state law requires us to be 100% in compliance, those numbers are still really important. There are just a couple of classrooms around the district that are above those contractual numbers, and those are not made because there are too many kids in the zone. Those are made because more kids who were offered a seat showed up for the seat. And the rate of attrition was not consistent with the historical numbers. But to go to your question around just who gets what room in different buildings, there is a master plan when schools are co-located. It is called the Blue Book. There is a team of people who work in the Office of Facilities and District Planning that worked to designate one classroom for School A and another classroom for School B. That is the plan that begins the process. Over the years, there may be different negotiations between which classrooms are for one school or another. Frankly, it comes down a little bit to, what is the current need in the building. And in some situations, there may be some very difficult conversations that need to be had. But I, point to a school like the lab building where you have lab middle school, museum, lab high school. There's a small District 75 program, and all of those schools were able to reduce class size and figure out how it is that space allocations could be used. For the most part, those schools kept to their historical space, and I think that is the kind of like the rule moving forward, is that what you had in 2025 is the same what you have in 2026. But that's not to say that there's never going to be a discussion around space in some places.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Tam, did you have a follow-up? Okay. Are there any other questions? Oh, Allison.
At what point, if any, can principals opt to decrease enrollment in order to meet the class size requirements? I understand that you can't decrease enrollment for your incoming class in order to get the funding, but can principals opt to do something differently, which will allow them to decrease enrollment? And if so, what?
Yeah. Right now, it's a non-starter. So there's no choice that a school-based leader has to reduce their school-wide enrollment.
I think that's really good for parents to hear you say that, because I think there's concern out there that on some level that principals have that choice. And it's good to hear you say as a superintendent, they don't have that choice.
They do not have that choice.
But just to be clear,
Just to
just
say.
to be clear, they don't have that choice now. That could change January 1st when we potentially have a new chancellor. Is that correct? I understand.
There's
I
been
know-
no speculation about
I
this.
understand that, but I'm just saying, the policy that you're stating, I just want to make sure, that's the policy now. That's not some law. That's just the policy from the current chancellor. I just want to make sure I understand that correctly.
The policy is that there is to be no reduction in enrollment or capacity in the schools, and I have never been a part of any conversation in which
Right, but what I'm saying is, with a new chancellor,
Yeah.
that policy could change, in theory, we're talking theoretical right now, that policy could theoretically change.
Lots of things are possible theoretically.
Absolutely, I understand, but it's not built in a law. It's not somewhere built in.
Not into the law.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to
Right,
get at.
yeah.
Right, it's a policy, not a law.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
May I switch the topic to academics? Or if we're done with talking about class size?
It's whatever question you have.
Okay, I just wanted to continue the thread of the conversation if anyone else wanted to ask on class size. Wit and wisdom. I saw that you said 6 schools are adopting it for middle school. Is that the choice of the principals, or is that a district initiative as a pilot with the intention of potentially rolling it out across the district?
It was the choice of the principals.
Could you share which schools are doing that?
And I may phone a friend just to, I'm looking beyond you to see if, Wagner Middle School, oh my gosh, Spruce Street School, Wagner Middle School, Spruce Street School, MAT, Roosevelt Island, 75 Morton, I might need, how many friends do I have over there?
You might need better friends.
I did say Wagner. And then there was another school that was going to do just module 0 this year, which is module 0 is kind of like the entry. I'm sorry? 289. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Or for either of the 2 deputy superintendents? No problem putting you in the hot seat. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your report. Much appreciated. And we look forward to hearing continued discussions and hearing from you in December as well.
Thanks.
Thank you. And next is the presentation of bylaws proposals. The last meeting, as a reminder, we had bylaw proposals which were voted down. In conversations, we did remove 2 sections. I'm not going to go through everything that we changed from the original bylaws proposals because we've talked about it now on 2 different meetings. The difference between what was proposed previously versus now with the elimination of 2 distinct paragraphs. There was 1 paragraph that talked about hiring and the ability of the council to hire an outside parliamentarian. That has been struck. And then the first paragraph of, I believe, the second to last section, which talked about the respecting the chair to settle disputes, that has been struck as well. All other changes, we are not voting on this as a reminder. This is a presentation because the last one, we voted them down last time. We have to present again and then vote in December. So I'm trying to remember my months. Those are the 2 changes that we've made. Hopefully next month we can deliberate and hopefully pass, but we'll see. Any questions? Okay.
It does eliminate.
Those 2 that I just said. Yes, that was already, so what I just mentioned, the 2 that I mentioned were changes from the previous bylaws proposals. So the previous bylaws proposals already proposed eliminating that. So what you have in your packet and what's on the website does reflect those changes. If you look at the section, I don't remember the section number, it's the section number that has the agenda. I don't remember which page. I could look if you'd like. It is page 10? Yeah, 10. That hasn't changed. That did not change.
Can we motion to add something to these proposed bylaw revisions?
You can make a motion.
So I'm going to make a motion that we actually changed the speaking time from 2 minutes to 3 minutes. And that would conform to the FACE template for CEC bylaws.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Let's take it to a vote. Sorry, recording secretary. I'll ask the recording secretary to take it to a vote. So just as to frame, or not frame, reiterate what Councilmember Healy's proposal would be on page 10 to change, well, I think it's, no, it's not page 10. It is, sorry, I want to get the exact section. Sorry. It is, thank you, page 11, section, page 11, the second paragraph. So it's section 2, to change 2 minutes to 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay, on the motion to change 2 minutes to 3 minutes, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a no. Gloria Chu.
Yes.
Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe. Sam Lowe is a no. Tal Maisel Shea. Tal is a no. Rustam.
No.
Rustam is a no. Tamara
Yes.
is Councilmember Reed is a yes. Sabina Serenese. Sabina is a no, and Craig Slutskin.
No.
Craig is a no.
Don't forget day 2.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
And Rachel is a no, and Ethan is a no. Okay, so this is 2, 3. So this does not pass. We had 5 yeses and 6 nos plus the 2 student members.
Right. Okay, thank you. Discussion of resolutions. So discussion of resolutions. So here is the time when the council will deliberate on each of the 3 resolutions. The first one is Resolution 288, urging the New York State Legislature to pass S8139 A908 to help address the needs of students experiencing homelessness in foster care or temporary housing. And just one point of explanation, just in case anybody is wondering what those numbers mean. When there's a bill in the legislature, it has to go through both the Senate and the Assembly. So the S is the New York State Senate bill number 8139, and the A is the New York State Assembly bill number, which is 9048. That's what those numbers mean, in case anybody was wondering. Are there any comments or questions to this resolution? I have one, but I'll wait to see if anybody else has. Okay, so it's more of a question. If one of the sponsors wishes to answer, they don't obviously have to. So I kind of want to get more information about what this does, because the resolution itself says, has all of these whereases, which are very good and very informative. And then it gives a very short blurb that says, and we're going to pass 8139, and we're going to recommend passing 8139 and 9048, but doesn't actually say in detail what S8139 and A9048 actually does. The way I initially read this was, we're just asking the state to give more money to students who in temporary housing, and which sounds great, that certainly needed. But I think it's, and I'm trying to understand if I'm correct, I think it's a little bit more than that. And this is what I'm trying to get at, and maybe somebody can explain, if somebody could admit, I'm not in the room. So, okay, thank you. When I took a look at the bill, because I actually started reading the underlying bill, the first thing that I think it does is it designates foster kids or kids in the foster system as students in temporary housing. I don't know if that was not the case before. It makes sense to me. If that wasn't, it makes sense to me, because it's clearly a temporary situation, could become permanent, but it's not necessarily. So that I get. But then it sounds to me it's actually changing the formula. And for those who don't know, there's this fair student funding amount, and that gets distributed out per student by school. And every kid gets a weight. Every student has a weight. So let's say if a child who's gen ed, nothing else, might have a weight of 1. And I'm making up numbers right now. A child who is an ELL designation might be a 1.2. A child who has an IEP might have a 1.3. And I'm making up those weights, but that's basically what it is. And that's how schools divide up the pot based upon number of students in each designation. If I'm understanding this correctly, what these bills do is it codifies, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's why I'm asking the question. It codifies that more weight will be given to certain students, which means, because there's a finite pot, less weight goes to others. So you're basically shifting the numbers. I'm not passing judgment on it. I just want to make sure I understand and everybody else understands what exactly this bill does. It sounds to me that this is shifting from some students to other students. And then I'm curious if that's the case, and if that is true, what is the impact on schools? Is there a way to figure it out? Because let's say a school doesn't have a lot of students in temporary housing or students that are designated with the ELL. Are they now going to lose funding? So potentially losing an enrichment teacher, a special teacher, or an aide or something else. So I'm trying to understand, and again, I could be wrong. I'm just trying to understand, because the bill, I read it 4 times today, probably more than that. It's a little bit hard to understand. So if one of the sponsors can talk about that, because it's not really spoken about in the resolution, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I think your questions are coming from some confusion between fair student funding and foundation aid. These are 2 completely separate pots of money that come from 2 completely separate places. And you spoke about fair student funding, which is a city money. This is actually foundation aid, which comes from the state. It comes from Albany. And increasing the weight, I believe increasing the weight for students in temporary housing will not decrease the funds available to other students. As I mentioned, I think the main reason why the state legislature overlooked providing a weight for students in temporary housing and students in foster care at the state level. The city would not do this in calculating fair student funding, which is a completely separate thing. Because we know that we have 150,000, students in temporary housing in New York City. So most of the students statewide who are in temporary housing are in New York City. So it's easier at the level of Albany to overlook those students. So this is not fair student funding. It doesn't change the fair student funding weight at all. This is foundation aid. This is a separate pot of money.
So how do the weights come into play then? Because there is a weight in the bill. It specifically says, I think 1.53 or something to that effect. If it's not affecting others, but it's a weight, just mathematically aren't weights affecting, if you change the weight on one, just talk to me about that and explain that to me, because I'm just trying to understand how that works then.
Well, I think overall, this is actually quite beneficial for New York City as opposed to New York State, since, those students, the vast majority of those students, like 95+% of those students are New York City public school students. So essentially what we are asking for, and what this bill is asking for, is for more weight to come to New York City public schools. So New York City public schools will benefit from this. It's true that perhaps, schools some school in the Adirondacks might, that has 0, students in temporary housing might, but they might have students in foster care too. But I think New York City would net benefit from this additional weight for students in temporary housing, considering we have 150,000 of those students. We have 95% of those students.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I'm not concerned about the Adirondacks. I mean, I'm sure they're very good people, but we're here to advocate for the New York City and District 2, obviously. So understood. I think we're saying the same thing. But I'm just trying to understand within New York City how it allocates. And you're saying it doesn't affect, it's just more of the formula just for students. coming to New York City
Since it's
directly
state
flowing
money,
through.
it's going to direct more funding
So
to
is it,
New York City.
is it, and I apologize because I just want to make sure I understand it correct completely. Is it basically a flow through that it basically, it's coming to this is additional money that's coming to New York City that will get specifically flowed through to students in temporary housing. So that's why a student who's not in temporary housing is not really affected by this. Am I understanding that? I'm just the mathematician in me trying to understand that, so.
I was just going to say that, I think that it's not as black and white as that. I think that part of it is that we're looking at schools, some of the schools in District 2 have 90% of the kids living below the poverty level. And we've seen, like with the government shutdown, that there were schools reaching out to the CECs, reaching out to community boards that had real needs. So I think the idea is that that money is going to schools where they have a high number of students in temporary housing so that they can have some extra support at that school for those students, which from my perspective benefits everybody at the school.
Right, no, I'm not debating the merits.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, a school that has 90% deserves more, should get more money.
Right.
You need the supports. I'm just trying to find out where is that money coming from? Is it coming from
the state?
Is it coming from the school that in New York City that is not at that same percentage?
It's not being taken away from others. No, it's not being taken away from other schools. It's that they're allocating more budget to New York City
That's what I
for that
initially
number.
thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's
Yeah.
important so that the state sets aside
fine.
more money specifically for that purpose.
My suggestion for the sponsors is that, and we can, I guess mechanically we can figure out how this is done, that a paragraph be added to clarify that, because when I read this, I wasn't sure. And I think it's more explanation and more clarification is helpful in this. That would be my suggestion, but I'm not a sponsor, so I can't tell you what to do. For the five, I think there are 5 of you that sponsor.
I think the confusion is just between Fursuit funding and foundation. People hear foundation and they think Fursuit.
Right, but
Right, and then once in a local.
right, but a parent who's reading this may not know what that means. May not know.
Yeah.
No, you can write 3 sentences about it.
Same thing. It's a very good initiative, right? But so we need to be 100% sure that other school student groups are not affected. That's the question. So that there are no reduction, for example, in an ELL group or something else at the same school. If it's an external funding, extra funding, it's definitely good. But let's be 100% sure that no other groups are affected.
So if a small bit of funding did go from other students, then this is not acceptable to increase the funding.
We're trying to figure out what that is. If it's a small number, that's one thing. If it's 500 million, it's another. I don't know. That's really what I'm trying to get at. It may be 2 different things. And having that number, or at least an approximate number, I think is important as people are deliberating this bill and this resolution. Not just saying, we may move money and we're not going to tell you how much. I think it does a disservice for the people who are trying to evaluate whether or not to approve the resolution. It may not matter for people, but it may. And I don't.
But we're already sort of at the liberty of their formula, right? We don't choose the weights. We don't choose how it's allocated. We're just saying these people are important. It was an overlooked, it was an oversight. As you're sending state money, New York City needs more of that because we need that.
Right.
So I'm just saying we're not in the nitty gritty of the algorithm that they're making in Albany. That's just not part of how they allocate money to us.
But
We're saying, don't forget New York.
No,
We
no,
have the vast majority, give us a little bit more to take care of the kids we're already taking care of.
Sorry, Ethan, go ahead.
So I understand what you're saying, that in terms of the nitty gritty, that it's not up to us, but I do still think it's important to be precise in our recommendations, and make sure that obviously at a higher level, giving more funds to people who need it more is a good thing, right? But I definitely think that it's important to be precise, especially for people like families who don't really know what's going on. I just think it's important.
Well, they're precise. They're precise in the Senate and the Assembly. And we're saying, yay, we agree. They're the ones that are coming out with the very specific legislation. And we're essentially saying, yeah, we agree with you. Please give us more money for kids in temporary housing and foster care. So I'm just saying we aren't in charge of the algorithm. They are. They wrote it down. We're saying we support it.
Yeah, I understand that. I just still think that, if we're gonna make a proposal that we obviously we don't have the power to enforce the policy or really make the policy like you're saying. But I still think it's important to be precise in what I'm gonna be redundant, but I appreciate your feedback.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this resolution? Yeah, you.
If there was an amendment to this resolution tonight, would we still be able to vote on it, or would we push back to next month?
If we know, hold on, sorry. Hold on 1 second. Okay,
There's one.
sorry.
There's one more.
Sorry. I promise I promise I will get, I promise I will give her the mic, and then the two of them can share and we can share after that. So, I think if, unless there's an objection, if we have a framework for, it's going to be 2 sentences just explaining what we've just talked about, unless there's an objection. I think if everybody's okay with that, if anybody objects to that, we can have that conversation. I don't want to wait, like if this is what we want to do, I don't want to wait a month just to do that. If that's okay with people, I don't. Okay. You two can share and I'll share with Russ.
I think Cody, what you said is really important, right? We're advocating for more money. What that looks like that nothing is 100%. We can't, like, nobody sitting at this table can give anyone at this table 100% guarantee of what that funding coming in from the state level to the local level to support 150,000 kids that are homeless right now, right? We don't know what kind of slight impact, if any impact, that's going to have. We can't give you a percentage on that, but they're not even at that point, We're just saying, hey, we have 150,000 kids and families that are affected by homelessness and poverty, right? No roof over the head, no clothes, no food. This is serious. This is bad. This has never been like this in my time in New York, which has been more than half of my life, and I know what it feels like to be housing insecure, and it fucking sucks. Sorry, it effing sucks. We need this for our kids, like we don't talk about this population of students enough. So we're saying, hey, we're in crisis, please help. When you have 95% of the population of homeless students lives in New York City, students in temporary housing and foster care, that's an issue. That's bigger than the town I come from. That's bigger than the place I grew up. That's bigger than most school districts, right? 150,000. That's a population within a population. These are the children that we represent. We're just asking for them to consider giving us more money to help them. We're not advocating for them to take away money from L students or from students with disabilities or from gifted and talented programs or what have you, right? We're not even at that point yet. But if we don't ask, we didn't ask. Those are families we represent. Like, I want to be on the record as asking, right?
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I was just going to add, I mean, you can find this on the internet. I have worked with unhoused populations in the past, particularly with adolescents. And one of the things that I think is so important for the school environment as a whole is that when children are in housing insecure situations, whether that's foster care, temporary housing, or staying with relatives, and they may also be experiencing food insecurity, it affects the culture and environment of the entire classroom. It affects their ability to learn, it affects their ability to pay attention and be engaged in the classroom. And so it benefits every single student in class from my perspective, and doesn't take any money away from what we already have in place. It's just asking for extra money from the state to support this very large population of students who have far less than the other students in the district. And I think that will benefit just classroom environments in general.
Does this number speak to District 2 or the entire
I'm sorry,
city?
could you repeat that?
Does this number speak to District 2 or the entire
Citywide,
city?
New York City public school, the entire city.
Do we have any numbers on District 2?
I don't.
Yeah, love to know.
I don't know if Han Kelly might know.
Are you saying that the 154,000, are you saying on it the 154,000 students number?
That's citywide, but being that District 2 is such a large district, and I imagine that we have a good chunk of that here. Yeah.
I can tell you that, for example, PS 51, which is on 44th Street and like 10th Avenue, and PS 212 are two schools. PS 111 as well, yeah. I know that PS 51, PS 212 is like 40% of students. If they're enrolled there are students in temporary housing, and PS
Do you have an
111
answer?
is probably also pretty
Actually,
significant.
He has. Yeah.
1,200 in District 2.
In temporary housing?
Yeah.
Does that include foster care?
1,200.
It doesn't.
So just for the folks at home, because he doesn't have a mic, Superintendent. So Superintendent McGuire noted that there are about 1,200 roughly now students in temporary housing, but that number does not include students who are in foster care now. Is that correct? We don't know. We're not sure. We're not 100% sure. Okay, but
And
the
what
numbers are
percentage is that of our District 2 overall enrollment?
So that's 5%, he said. Okay. Ethan, and then hopefully we can.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to finish up. Like, I don't want to come across as being against this bill. I just want to say I agree with the proponents of this bill. And I think I would be evil to try to not give funding to people who need it more. I'm just saying, like, my question is, what is the harm in making it more specific? Because if we want to pass this, I'm sure we can vote on it. My question is, what is wrong with being a little more specific? Because I completely agree with you that it needs more exposure, but that's not being lost at all, I think.
I think what we're saying is we can't be specific on the numbers of money we're asking for because we don't have that capacity. What we're saying is there's a law that is currently trying to be passed in Albany, and that has those specifics, and we agree with them. So it's not that we're trying to be vague. We're just saying we agree with Albany coming up with something that sends more money to New York. So yeah, I think we can add a sentence or two in there, but that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Do you have a question? Okay. Okay. So you would be okay with adding a sentence or a generic 1 or 2 sentences just to explain? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody okay with them doing that?
No, you know what, I actually, had drafted this. I don't, I can't really.
You can say no, it's fine. It's
Okay, I have the floor now. I can't really read your mind, what you want. I don't really know what is the sentence that's going to satisfy you. So if you have a proposal for a sentence, and you can motion and you can add it, but I don't really know what the specificity that you require to vote yes on this. So I think we should just go forward and take a vote.
that's you as the lead sponsor can say no, and that's fine.
Does anybody have a sentence or two that they want to add to, like maybe Ethan?
Yeah, thank you. I would just probably clarify that we are in accordance with whatever policy they're coming up with in Albany right now, just to make sure that everyone's clear on that.
I'm not going to comment. It's fine. It's not my responsibility.
Yeah, can we add something like, for example, like we expect additional funding for this, and we're asking for additional funding, and we're asking for confirmation that no other groups or students will be affected, something like that.
What do you mean by effective, but without like?
That-
To be specific, now we gotta get really specific.
No, I understand. So
Because I can't say that they're not going to take a
So,
librarian
listen,
away
listen,
from
guys.
from Irvington. I don't know. So
So
is
that's
there
what
something
that's what I hear just right now. I see the resolution. It's like absolutely important. It's absolutely important. But as far as I hear, it's a lack of information because I hear about the bill, I hear about the formula. I'm some kind of into maths as well, and I hear some different numbers, like 1.4 for ELL students turns to 1.2. So as for me, there are different numbers. So I don't see the bill. So I just see the resolution. I just want to be 100% sure that there is no reduction for other students groups. That's it. So
So in reading the bill for the Senate version at least, it says that right now the ELL weight for the last year was 0.5. This proposal is to give extraordinary needs counts additional funding. So instead of just a 0.5 that was received for ELL weight, we're now going to receive 0.53 to accommodate for the additional homeless people in special needs housing.
So it is a reduction.
No,
it's
No.
an addition.
Addition.
It's saying that instead of getting 0.5 weight for your funding, you're getting 0.53 now to account for the people in temporary housing.
That's the weight. Yeah,
That's
it's
the
right.
weight. Am I saying something wrong?
It's adding to the weight for an ELL student from 0.5 to 0.53.
Do we have this bill here? or-
It's, you can pull it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we reference, the reason I think
It's a
the
there's a
confusing
lot
thing is
in it.
we reference the bill in the resolution and we say we support the bill. So I think all the specifics are in the bill. And if you guys want to read the bill and decide if you support that. But basically, like, we're saying that we support the bill. So, I mean,
Because it adds funding based on the fact that we have such a high number of students in temporary housing.
and again, this is state funding. So we are saying,
Yeah, I understand.
yeah.
Anybody?
Anybody else have any
Anybody
comments?
else? Yeah.
Okay, so where did we wind up with, I'm not gonna propose any additional statements. Somebody, they don't want, if the sponsor doesn't want to do it, sorry. If the sponsor doesn't want to do it, that's fine. It's not my resolution, so I'm not gonna propose anything.
I understand that there are objections, but it sounds like from what I'm hearing from Russ is that Russ is a no. Russ is a no on additional funding weight for students in temporary housing.
So he hasn't said that, but okay. Ethan, sorry, let Ethan, one of the things.
I think one question with a simple yes or no answer, I think would help clear up a lot, is for the proponents of this bill, will this new funding take away funding from others? And if that's no, that's a no. Or if that's maybe, I think that's why people are concerned.
That's right. That's what we've been asking.
So I mean, it's clear that if there is money coming from others, then it sounds like you're a no.
I didn't say that. I'm just asking. So I just need the answer. That's it. Because we have two votes.
Should we table this till everyone has read the bill? Because a lot of this is in the bill.
The bill is confusing. Sorry.
It is confusing, and I mean, in
Right,
that
that's why
it's
I'm trying to
vague,
get under-
and it's vague because this algorithm of how they allocate money is a little squishy. I mean, it's a weight, but I don't understand it. I'm not,
So
in charge of doling out money.
we could table it till, I don't know this, but I'm assuming they're not voting on it in the next 4 weeks. I think it was just issued. We could table it for a month, but I don't want to, it's, again, it's yours, you're the sponsors, you can do it. I'm not going to propose doing that. If you want to do it, you can, but we could do that, but I don't know when this is coming up for a vote. And if this is coming up for a vote in the next 3 weeks, we can't, right?
I will say too, just, as we're doing all the weighting of different needs of children, it is, it's a weight system. It's a small amount of money comparatively. It's not like we're taking $500 million away from library programs for, gen ed children. That's not so we're saying it's a weight, we're adding more weight to people that need it. And it's, again, state money.
I'm just gonna say something really quick. Could we add something that says that we advocate for not taking money away from any other group in the weighting formula? Like say, like we would like the extra funding to support students in temporary housing without taking money away in our weighted system from any other group.
All right, I just want to say I agree with that.
I'm not
sorry?
saying,
I agree with that.
we're asking
Yeah, we're
them.
just advocating, so we cannot tell them what to do, but we're just advocating.
One at a time, please.
In addition to.
They can't hear, put this in between the two.
Sorry, I don't have.
We're getting money. right? We're not, so we have that pot and then we're getting additional funding for this particular population of students to support them. So I don't understand how that foundation aid, right, would affect for student funding at all. So I don't know why there's, like, how would that even work? Like, how would getting more money give less money to everybody else?
If you are, so that's what we're trying to get at.
But how would that even
Sorry,
happen?
if it's a weight, right? Then something if something is going to take have a larger proportion, then something is going to have a less proportion. If it's a weight, that's the definition of weight.
They're adding money to the pot from the state level. So it's not actually affecting what
So
the baseline is for first
are
year
they
funding at all.
Are they increasing foundation? Sorry, are they increasing foundation aid?
State.
Okay, so the state is increasing from their operating budget. So
yes,
previously, sorry, I'm just trying to
No,
make
it's
sure I
okay.
understand this. Sorry, because we're all confused. I think it's previously made up numbers. If the state was giving us $1 billion in foundation aid, according to you, if I understand this, the state would now be giving us $1.1 billion in foundation aid, of which that additional 100 million goes to students in temporary housing. That's what I'm asking. That's what we're trying to find out.
That's what we're saying, right? Because there's a disproportionately higher rate of students living in temporary housing in New York City.
Right. Let me finish my comment though. So because I think the disconnect is it what I think it sounds what we're hearing, which could be wrong, is that it's staying at the $1 billion in my made up numbers, right? Foundation aid. But now certain kids are having higher weights. So there's going to be a reallocation.
No, see, I'm hearing that there's added money. So I think that's not, there's no reallocation, right?
I thought it was no new monies, and it's
But that's at the local level, right?
Readjusting the weights to benefit
With this money, with the additional funding from the state.
I think the foundation money is, a fixed amount that has already been budgeted. This was proposed back in like May of 2025, and it was passed in July, right? So I think, I'm not positive because I don't know enough about state budgeting, but my understanding is that this is no new money. It's not like they're allocating more money from whatever budget they had.
That's what it asks for though.
My reading of this bill is that there was an oversight where they did not include students in temporary housing and foster care as part of the weighting system, as a part of the foundation pot of money that is sent to New York City. So now they're saying we need to calculate that in, and it's not just New York City. It's districts around the state, right?
I know.
But then it's a net positive for New York to have this added in there, but there's redistribution of a fixed budget of money. It's not going to be coming from New York City students. More will be coming to New York City students, but other districts around the state will be affected. That's my understanding.
That's not my understanding, but Gavin, you're.
My understanding of it is that because of that, they are asking for additional funding in the pot, if that makes sense.
Well, that's the question.
Because I don't know when the timing of the budgeting has taken place, and given that we're already in November and this was all back.
Okay.
So
I mean,
Rachel and then Ethan.
yeah, I just think this kind of sounds like it's at people. It just sounds like we're asking for like more accessible language, like was what Aaron was saying, with just like something that directly states our intentions with it. Because like at the end of the day, like more money for people who need more support, I think we're all advocating for. But I don't think the specifics of the bill are the issues, or the specific. It's like the lack of accessibility in the language. So just having something in this resolution to quickly outline and make that information more easily understandable and accessible seems like it would help.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'll try to ask the question again, but I think it would clarify if you could give a one-word answer is, will this bill take money away from other kids? Yes, no, or maybe.
I think we simply add a sentence to the resolution that says, in asking for this, we do not want funds to be taken away from other groups of New York City public school students.
I would agree, and I would vote for that. So thank you.
So that would be the sentence, like one sentence to add to it that clarifies we
We
are
have kids with disabilities, we have other.
100%. And I'm not, I think I mean, from my perspective, that's, yeah. But I think that we're asking them that we would like this to go through with the understanding that no money is taken away from other New York City public school students.
Well, one thing I think that makes this challenging is we do not have next year's New York State budget in front of us right now. So we can talk about weights, but in terms of numbers, we don't have the budget available to us. So we're asking for an additional weight in that budget. So I think step one is for us to ask for additional weight for these students who are students in need, who are in our city's public schools. Like 95% of those students statewide are in New York City public schools. It's probably more like 98%. But anyway, it's a lot of students, 150,000 students. So the first step is to ask for the additional weight. And the next step after that is going to be, you know, all the trials and tribulations in the spring in Albany, like the fighting for more money. So let's do step one first, and then we can do step two, and we can advocate for more money. And I think that's something we could do as a CEC as that budget comes out, is to ask for additional funds. But if we don't start now with the additional funding weight, that money won't be in the budget. That money will not be in the New York State budget that comes out in the new year.
So are you proposing or not proposing?
I mean, I would propose just to add the clarifying sentence, but I have to also defer to my co-sponsors.
Right, you would have to make a motion, but that's up to you.
Well, okay, I'll make a motion.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh. I'm not quite, I don't know, actually. I don't know. I have to ask legal. I don't know. I'm not saying no, I actually don't know. So I'm sure there's a legalese. I don't.
So I think adding that language about we want no, reduction for other students, I think it's still conflating the funding weight with the actual, budget numbers, which are different. So I think asking for more funding weight is step one. I really am very uncomfortable with this resolution being conditional in that way. And so I would vote against any kind of amendment like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, what Gavin started off with earlier on was that this is a net positive. And because it's like the pot of, I guess, if I understand correctly, foundation money is for all the districts within the state, not just District 2.
Right.
And since New York City has like the overwhelming majority of students in temporary housing, that influx would be more to New York City. So there might be other districts in the state.
Speak a little louder. Sorry.
There might be other districts in the state that are impacted, but it wouldn't be New York City students. So it's we're advocating for our city's students. So I regardless of whether or not that line is in there, I think the goal is really to kind of push it towards greater funding by having that weight, which benefits New York City. That's my understanding of it after like all this discussion.
And also just to say, the student doesn't get the money, it goes to the school. And so again, as we were saying, these populations are part of a community in the school. So my son doesn't live in temporary housing. My son doesn't have an IEP, but he's benefiting from the money at his school. He's benefiting because everybody is getting a better education when they get more money. So it's not like the kids are getting the money specifically. It's just raising the level for the whole school. So the whole community is benefiting and the whole city.
Are you going to make the motion or not?
Well, I feel like
I wanna move
without
forward.
a consensus, then I won't make the motion.
Okay, so we'll move forward. We'll move on. Resolution 289, improving busing service for students with disabilities in New York City. Are there any comments or questions on that?
Make it a little. I know.
It's not,
Will I?
so it's.
Okay, I've been waiting. Sorry. I won't say a lot. You guys have read it, right? You can talk about, I mean, maybe Gavin or other, co-sponsors, Craig, Sabina can speak more to the contract piece, which is actually being discussed at the PEP meeting right now. New York City has a history of ignoring the rights of students with disabilities on multiple folds, right? So when we talk about IEP students and we talk about non-compliance, busing is a part of that. It's part of their IEP, it's on their IEP, right? So this is a critical mandated service. I can't remember a time when busing worked the way it was supposed to work. And we have students that are on buses for 2 hours to go 3 miles. We had a student in New Jersey die last year, a 6-year-old, because her para was seated in a different seat. The student's equipment failed. The student died. We have no working ACs, no heaters. We have buses that are 15 years old. But most importantly, we have ignored it. It's like, oh, that's too bad. It's too bad. I feel sorry for you. If this was happening to gen ed students, it would be fixed. And that's the truth. These are medically fragile, extremely, vulnerable, at-risk students already. They're missing instructional time. They're not able to access their education if they can't get to school. It's not like that's not, oh, you missed a period or two. You just missed speech. You missed OT. You missed PT. You're coming in. The day's already started. It's not equal access, and it's gross. And that's the bottom line. We're dealing with these big companies, these bus vendors, right? These busing contractors, these vendors who have done a crap job. They've done a crap job. But why would we sign another 5-year contract with someone who's not delivering the service? Clearly, right? And it's on record that they're not delivering the service. So why would we give them, oh yeah, go another 5 years? Even the bus drivers are pissed. Sorry, I don't know if that was a bad word, but the bus drivers are angry. They're unionized. They are having double, triple routes. That's why it's taking 2 hours for a kid who lives 3 miles from school to get there. You can't have a para. You can't go on the train with a para. You have to take the bus to have the para. Right? You can't go to school if your para doesn't show up on the bus. They're overworked, they're tired, and they're taking the most precious cargo with them. So we need a better, contract for our bus drivers union. We need a better, for all of the people involved in busing. And this is not it, people. This is not it. In this contract, there's been a 1-year extension. And now the PEP is deciding tonight. A vote that we didn't even know was scheduled for tonight. Backdoor meetings between OPT and the bus companies, the vendors, on a 3-year contract. Locked into more of this dysfunction where kids are not getting to school. It affects their lives. Like their lives. You all care about education, you're here. You know it has a big place in your child's life, or you wouldn't be here. Right? So we can't get more of the same. Why get more of the same? This is asking for at most a 2-year extension and no more than that. And stipulations, look at the last chunk of it, look at the last little piece, right? Working in that 2-year contract period in a way that is meeting all of the demands that the union has, that the students have, that the advocates have, that the parents have, that we have. Right? And not just sitting on it like we've done for decades. We've used Nice Bus. And there's thousands of complaints. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Oh, okay. Resolution 290, resolution authorizing CEC2 to hold hybrid. Any comments?
I'll be
Sorry,
brief.
council member Carr. Sorry.
I'll be brief. I just think this is a basic accessibility issue. We have, even on our own council, parents who have students with disabilities who may not be able to be here in person, but still want and deserve the chance to participate. In addition, I believe that people, as a parent, we all know, I have the privilege of being here because I have a spouse who is at home with my child. Not everybody has that privilege or the money to pay for childcare, or they may have a child that cannot be left with, just a babysitter, or, there are a lot of extenuating circumstances. So I think that this is like every major industry has accessibility for this reason. And I think that we need to get on the same page. So many other CECs have hybrid meetings so that there's speaker participation, so that if one of us is traveling for work or our child is sick, that we can still participate. We will still need to have an in-person quorum, but we'd still be able to vote. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Sorry. Okay. Second public speaker session. I think my understanding is we have 2 people. We'll do the timer. Okay. Is Joe still here? I can't see. Okay. Hi, Joe. You have 2 minutes.
I spoke in the previous session. My sign says CIS equals can't imitate sex. A couple of meetings ago, the council passed the opposition to 248, which would have allowed the conversation to happen about biological males playing on girls' school sports and being in their locker. And tellingly, Superintendent McGuire did not address the question. I think some of you passed that opposition because you didn't want to see me again, but ta-da! I sit through some of the most boring and ineffective meetings of my life, and I'm still here. Superintendent McGuire does not care about biological girls in schools. Otherwise, he would have addressed the question. And tellingly, none of the people on the council asked him the question. And as I said before, your primary role is to bring community problems to the superintendent. And today you failed, but then spent an excruciatingly painful, boring amount of time with ineffective, I guess, conversation. Like I said, when you passed the opposition to 248, all that was going to happen was that the corrupt Department of Education was going to reiterate their gender guidelines, which is exactly what happened. So you have the Department of Education bureaucrat named Katie Jerklinick, and she says, as a reminder, this is her talking, as a reminder, I am attaching our response to the previous resolution, meaning Resolution 248, and confirming that statements made in this response remain accurate. And then she goes on to say, our policies and guidelines are appropriate and aligned with applicable laws and regulations. But no, they're not. No, they're not. There's an executive order which has the strength of federal law that says, okay, let me complete my sentence, that says biological males are not to compete in girls' school sports. And there's a lot of talk about money today. Let's see what happens when that money is rescinded.
Jules. Is Jules still here?
I think she left.
Okay. Okay. So we will now take a vote on the resolutions. We'll start off with resolution. Sorry. We'll start off with resolution 288, urging the New York State Legislature to pass S 8139 A 9048 to help address the needs of students experiencing homelessness in foster care or in temporary housing. I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is Aaron Carr. I make the motion for all of them. It's fine. Okay, so let's take it to a vote.
Okay, on resolution 288, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a no. Gloria Chu. Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe. Sam Lowe is a yes. Tal Mazel-Shea. Tal is a yes. Rustam Mavlanov. Rustam is abstaining. Tamara Reed. Tamara Reed is a yes. Sabina Serenese? Sabina Serenese is abstaining, and Craig Slutskin.
I would say, could you come back to me, but that when you get back to me, I'll say yes. Fine.
Craig Slutskin is a yes. Rachel Kenny? Rachel is a yes, and Ethan Kwok? Ethan abstains. Okay, so we have 8 yeses, 1 no, and 2 abstentions, so the resolution passes.
Thank you. Resolution 289, improving bus services for students with disabilities in New York City. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is Aaron Carr. Take it to a vote.
On Resolution 289, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Gloria Chu? Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy? Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist? Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe? Sam Lowe is a yes. Tal Mazel Shea? Tal is a yes. Rustam Mavlanov? Rustam is a yes. Tamira Reed? Tamira is a yes. Sabina Serenese? Sabina is a yes. And Craig Slutskin?
Yes.
Craig is a yes. Rachel Kenny? Rachel is a yes. And Ethan Kwok? Ethan is a yes. It's a unanimous yes vote. The resolution passes.
Thank you. For the record, 11-0-0. Resolution 290, resolution authorizing CEC2 to hold hybrid meetings. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second is Gloria Chu.
On
Vote.
Resolution 290, Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Gloria Chu? Gloria Chu is a yes. Daniela Egorov is absent. Gavin Healy? Gavin Healy is a yes. Aaron Carr? Aaron Carr is a yes. Cody Lindquist? Cody Lindquist is a yes. Sam Lowe? Sam Lowe is a yes. Tal Mazel Shea? Tal is a yes. Rustam Mavlanov? Rustam is a yes. Tamira Reed? Tamira is a yes. Sabina Serenese? Sabina is a yes. And Craig Slutskin?
Yes.
Craig is a yes. Rachel Kenny? Rachel is a yes. Ethan Kwok? Ethan is a yes. That is also unanimous, so that's 11 yeses. 0 noes and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. And that concludes the vote on the resolutions. In your packet, you have the draft minutes of October 25 CEC2 meetings. Thank you to Victor for preparing them, as he does every month. It's a lot of work, so I appreciate the work, the hard work on that. Does anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes? Sabina. No,
No.
just kidding. Hearing none, the minutes stand approved. New business? Then can I get are we okay with adjourning? Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Favor?
Yep.
Okay. Should we go directly into the working business meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not going to call to order the working business meeting. It's 9:15 of Community Education Council 2. My name is Craig Slutskin and I'm the president. I'm going to ask the recording secretary to take roll call.
Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is present. Gloria Chu. Gloria is here. Daniela is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin is here. Aaron is here. Cody. Cody is here. Sam Lowe. Sam is here. Tal. Tal is here. Rustam.
Here.
Rustam is here. Tamira. Tamira is here. Sabina. Sabina is here. And Craig.
Here.
Craig is here. Rachel. Rachel is here. And Ethan. Ethan is here. So we have 11 here and 1 excused absent.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to start off with the treasurer, if you can pass this out.
Yeah.
If we're going to start off with the treasurer's report, as a reminder, at the last meeting, Russ was elected treasurer, Mazel Tov. We have to, the first order of business that we need to do this year for the treasurer is to approve a budget. Russ and I worked on a budget based upon some of the numbers from last year, which you can talk about. Feel through.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Craig. A brief update. So the budget you see is a projected budget based on the last year numbers. You'll notice reductions across many lines, most of them cut by like 70–80%. You see that simply to reflect what was actually used last year and to keep the budget realistic and responsible. So the main cost remains the member reimbursements, and that line stays the same as last year because it like follows DOE guidelines, and the total of the year is projected at 18,650. As we know, in previous years, several members didn't use or even never used their reimbursements, so this number usually comes in lower. So the rest of the lines, tech supplies, staff transportation, equipment, and so on, were adjusted based on last year actual spending. And nothing unusual here, just aligning the numbers with real usage. We can still revise the budget. So give the comments, please.
I'll just make two comments on this. First is just as a reminder, because he talked about the CEC, the member reimbursements. That's a DOE policy. The policy is we as members can get reimbursed for each month. It's up to $125 for each member. President is up to $200. And those reimbursements can be for things like if you want a magazine subscription, your telephone bill, if you take a cab to a meeting for, in your capacity as a CEC2 member, including this meeting, up to that amount. That actually, when you think about this big group, because we are a big group, it cuts into a lot of the $25,000 budget that is allocated to each CEC. So that's why the number is high. It's not that Russ or I am pulling this number out of air. It's an actual number. You don't have to take it, but you are entitled to take it. Now we can make, as we get along through the year, if these numbers, if people are not putting in money, and we don't think they're going to, we could make amendments to it. I will say last year, most members did not put money in until the last week. So it was very hard for us to actually say where we were tracking, because there was one member who put in, where's Victor? I think it was like 4 o'clock when it was due 5 o'clock, like the whole year's expenses. They put it in at like 4 o'clock, like an hour, with an hour to spare. You can literally, wait, now I would not recommend doing that because it's very, well, it's not even that. As Victor will tell you. No, right. The reason why I wouldn't do that is because, because he will tell you that the DOE is very strict in how things are processed. Like if you have it in the wrong line, and there may be 2 or 3 iterations that Victor will have to go through, don't wait until 5 o'clock, because somebody did wait last year and they didn't get reimbursed. We ran out of time. The other thing I want to mention in here, you'll see on the last line something new, and I generally don't like to think about anything in the budget just for one member or one school, but this is very specific, and I want to speak to it because I think it's very important. So one of the schools in our district is 47, which is a school that focuses on, one of their focuses is on students ASL, students American Sign Language, and they have a lot of students who are hard of hearing. And I think it's very important, because that's a pocket case. It's one to have our liaison to be able to have at least some level of communication and have training in that. There is a very inexpensive but potentially very effective training. The liaison is not going to come out of this fluent. It's just not going to happen, but at least it's going to be some introduction. So I would like, just for this one instance, my suggestion and recommendation is that we do allocate the $250 for the liaison to 47 to take this course for better communication. I think it's also a community that in the past has felt, and I don't think it's this, I think it's a few councils ago, but it doesn't make a difference. It's not that important which council. I think they felt neglected by previous councils, like 2 or 3 ago, not this current one. So I think it's also a nice gesture out to improve the relationship between the CEC and the parents and faculty and community of that school. So just wanted to throw that out there also, because it's new. Sorry, excuse me, it's new. It's not, we didn't have it last year, but I think it's important. Just my suggestion.
That sounds nice. My question is, what's a P card?
P card is, okay, so a P card, and where's Victor? Because Victor?
It's Victor's credit card.
It's basically a Victor's credit. Victor gets a credit card that he can use for miscellaneous, like if he buys like anything that it's like miscellaneous that we don't know, but a P card is the DOE's credit card.
Wait.
I think it's Victor, is it a debit? Where's Victor? Victor step out?
Actually, he didn't use it.
I've never seen it because I don't have it, but I think it's a credit. It's essentially a credit card. I don't know if it's actually a credit card as opposed to like yes, it's not for me to like take Aaron out.
But the budget was But the budget was 1,000. So last year the budget was 1,000 for that card, and he didn't use it. I cut it to 500.
Victor, the question that we had is, what is we didn't use the P card last year, but is the P card
card,
literally a
yeah.
credit card? Like, is it actually?
Yeah, it is. There's like so many limit time.
Right, so we put a little bit of money in, but we didn't put. Right. And we can reallocate later if we find he's not using it for anything.
Yeah, like I just request it, but you guys don't care if I don't request it.
Right.
If you're not able to use it, does the funding get lost?
So
Is it like a
so anything that we don't use in our budget, it's use it or lose it.
Okay.
So we can't roll it, like, let's say we used 20,000, it's not that next year, and this is a year thing, this is not a 2-year thing. Next year we get 30,000, it's use it or lose it.
Oh,
The staff, transportation, is that also for?
That's for Victor.
Cool.
And we cut it.
If it was for, like, let's say for May, right, that would be the member. Right.
And actually, it was $1,550 last year, and now we cut it to 500.
He didn't use it all.
Yeah,
He can, but he didn't.
P card money.
kind of a tough, sorry,
And just-
treasure.
And just to be clear, Rachel and Ethan, you have the right also. You also, yes, we wouldn't take cars, taxis home and send you in a bus, because that would kind of be rude. But yes, the two of you are entitled to it as well. What's that? Logistically, Victor will figure it out with you, but you're entitled also to it, to a reimbursements. So.
I just want to say, I didn't take any reimbursement at all the last 2 years. I don't intend to going forward, so I'm happy to give my money over to Victor. You want to go to vacation, take your family.
I don't think that'll get through the accounting.
Not how it works.
Sorry, no, it's cool. My voice is loud. Just thank you for, I know you haven't voted on it yet, but thank you for the ASL help. I've been on YouTube. It's not a good teacher for me. I look like an air traffic controller, so I'm really embarrassed. I'm trying. This is a school that I think we all feel needs more support. And I think it's nice for them not just to see that their liaison is doing the work, to go in there and at least have like some basic, like I can say a few things, making the effort, even if I look like a fool, but that this council supported it financially. Like, that is an effort. And that is showing that we are serious about bringing them back here, because they said they would never come back, right? So I just want to say thank you.
In advance.
What?
In advance.
In advance.
We got to vote,
Oh, God, one more thing really quick. Are we on new business?
No, we're still on the budget.
Okay, go. Sorry.
Okay. Are there any other questions on the budget? Okay. I'm going to make a motion to approve the budget. Can I get a second? We take a vote? You have enough? I think I have more if you need more. Okay.
Okay, this is a vote to approve the budget. Allison Bowen. Allison Bowen is a yes. Gloria Chu. Gloria is a yes. Daniela is absent. Gavin Healy. Gavin is a yes. Aaron is a yes. Cody Lindquist. Cody is a yes. Sam Lowe. Sam is a yes. Tal Maisel Shea. Tal is a yes. Rustem.
Yes.
Rustem is a yes. Tamira Reed.
Yes.
Tamira is a yes. Sabina she had to leave early, right? Craig Slutskin.
Yes.
Craig is a yes. Rachel Kenny. Rachel is a yes. And Ethan Kwok. Ethan is a yes. So that is passed unanimously with 10 votes, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Moving along, a couple more things. Looks like we'll get out of the time. On the committee structure, thank you all for your committee requests. As I discussed, everybody decides, everybody can determine what they would like what committees they would like to be on. So thank you for that. I just want to thank, in particular, Ethan and Rachel, because they are going to be on committees themselves. So thank you for that. I want to congratulate also, because I got several people showed interest in chairing committees. So I do want to, unfortunately, there was some overlap, so we had to move a little bit around, few things around. Student Contemporary Housing Committee, Cody will chair that. The Multilingual Learning Committee, Russ will chair that. The School and Safety and School Climate Committee, Erin will chair that. The Zoning and Capital Improvements Committee, Daniela will chair that. Students with Disabilities Committee, Tam will chair that. Admissions Committee, Sam and I will co-chair. And the Academic Affairs Committee, Allison and Daniela will co-chair. But all of you gave me your requests. That's, in terms of what you want to be on, that is what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a shared calendar. So this way, if a committee chair wants to hold a meeting, that we can actually reserve dates, because one thing I would like never to happen is that two committees meeting on the same night. I just don't think that's a good thing for a whole bunch of reasons. I don't think I need to get into that, but, let's talk. I'm ex officio on every committee. That doesn't mean I'm going to be steering anything. Committee chairs should do as they work with their committees to decide agendas and things like that. But I'm certainly happy to be your thought partners on this as well. There are a couple of committees where we don't have a ton of members. I just want to remind everyone, just because you're not on a committee does not mean that you can't participate in that committee. It's a public they're public sessions anyway, committee meetings. So anybody can attend any committee. And certainly, if you have a particular interest but didn't want to commit to the committee, definitely please participate. Virtual meetings procedures. So one of the things that we are required to do, this is by law, is have formal procedures. In your packet, and it was online also, is the procedures for member video conferencing pursuant to public officers law. It's very boring, but it's what's there. The only change I made from what is actually provided by the FACE, which was provided by the Committee on Open Government, the only change was that instead of saying enter council here, I put in CEC2. I didn't make any wording changes aside from identifying who we are. I don't know if anybody got a chance to take a look at this. Again, this is not something, I think that it is what it is, and this complies with open meetings law. If anybody has any questions or comments? No, this is for hybrid. So when you're doing a hybrid, you have to have this procedures which have to be on your So we have always, I will just say this, all of our committee meetings, with the exception of one over the last term, was video, was not even hybrid, it was virtual. I'm just going to say that that's what we did. And right, they're open to the public. Yes.
Right. We're not conducting business or taking votes at the committee meetings, so they're not covered by open meetings.
There is, there is some discrepancy in the interpretation. I will just say, in terms of it has to be both, I will just say virtually every CEC has their committee meetings online and none of us have gotten arrested. I'm just going to say it that way. Interpret it as you wish. I will bail you out. I will come and bail you.
Use some of that budget from the P card.
I've done it before. I have bailed people out.
Bail
before.
money.
Don't ask, but I have bailed people out. Okay. You don't want to know. Okay. Liaison school reports.
I have a 2-sentence.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So before we do it, so this is the time, you don't have to, but if you have had your liaison visits or if you've had communication, things that you want to bring up for your liaison schools, this is a good time to do it. One thing I will ask, I know you want to speak, I'm going to ask you to speak about PS 51 if you can, because I know that's your school. We did a Facebook and Twitter thing, and I know Superintendent McGuire did something as well. So we'll let Erin go first, but I'm going to ask you to speak about it.
This is very brief. One of the my assignments is for the 3K and pre-K centers, which we haven't done in the past because technically we don't really cover them, but they don't have any representation or connection to community education councils. So actually last week was here. There's a location here at Tweed downstairs, and there are 2 principals who manage the 9 centers. I'm meeting with the second principal on Monday, and I'll have more of a report next time, but I just wanted to let everyone know that.
Well, first I had a lovely liaison visit with PS 41, which is one of our council members homeschool, and it was really nice to meet the principal and the parent coordinator. I got a little bit more about some building needs they might have in the future. Really warm, wonderful community, wonderful elementary school. And one of the things that the parent coordinator brought up to me, just to shout out again, 75 Morton, was just how much a lot of people from that school go to 75 Morton, love 75 Morton, and what a great community it is. So they wanted to shout them out. So I'm shouting out their shout out. And yeah, I just had a great meeting, and it was really nice to get to know them there. And hopefully it'll be the beginning of a good relationship with that school as well. One of my other liaison schools, PS 51. So in the Hell's Kitchen community, which is the community that was the hardest hit with asylum seekers in the last few years, just because of the proximity of the shelters. A lot of the hotels in our neighborhood have been used as shelters and have been slowly closing down throughout the city. And in District 2, that's where most of them are centered. We still have one large shelter. It's 3,500 people, I believe, the Row Hotel on 8th Avenue. There are 3 elementary schools in the neighborhood where the majority of those families go to school: PS 212, PS 111, and PS 51. PS 51 has shouldered the largest amount of these students. It's one of the last remaining asylum seeking shelters, and it's closing faster than we were told. It's actually currently closing before the end of the year. Originally, they said it was going to be April, and now they're saying it's going to be December. So this is a 4-alarm fire for the elementary schools in the neighborhood, because PS 51 has 40% of their population going to that school. So if you think about the fact that 40% of your school population might not have a place to live, or if they do, might not have a place to live in the neighborhood, it's going to be detrimental for the students there. And of course, obviously, this is above our heads in terms of the mayor making decisions on when to close things and contracts closing down, but it is a huge problem in our neighborhood. And so PS 51, we posted places, resources for families, if anyone wants to donate, monetary donations. And just to say an awareness on this, these are school communities. If you think about it, it's not just affecting the kids that are living in the shelter system, it's affecting the kids that don't, just to think that one day you might show up and 40% of your class isn't there, or maybe they are there, but they had to take a 2-hour bus ride to get to the school that they've been going to every day. These are families that are well integrated into our community. We see them every day, not just in school, but the playgrounds, at the grocery store. So I just want to put that emphasis on that as we're thinking and moving forward, especially right before the holidays, which is really, really sad. So I just want to give some extra love and shout out to PS 51, any ways that we can support them. And we're discussing and trying to figure out ways that we can help them out as a CEC and just as a community of New York City public school families. PS 212 has some families there as well. And I'm not quite sure what the number is at PS 111, but we've seen in Hell's Kitchen, we've seen a huge shift in our populations, and it's just something I think we should all be aware of as we're moving forward. So.
And there's more information about it on our website, on the homepage, www.cecd2.net. There's a link to what they need, Amazon wish lists, etc., and more details about this. We put that on, so you can go to our website, also our Facebook page, but you might have to scroll down a little bit. Liaison school? Okay. Wait. I'm sorry. Well, the people at home.
So, oh yeah, that's right. PS3 has school spotlight tomorrow morning. You got an email about it from
7 emails about it.
We've gotten several emails about it. Check it out if you can. Go to PS3. It's a really amazing place with some problems right now. So I think we should show up and and investigate and support and do all the things. Yeah, I think it's at 8:15 in the morning.
Sleepover, let's all stay, and then we go over in the morning.
It's 8:15, but my guess is 8:15 is breakfast and it doesn't actually start until like 8:45. That's just my guess.
Okay, well, don't talk to me until I have coffee. If you see me there, please.
Okay. I have a couple, I did do a couple of liaison school visits. I was at PS2, which is in Chinatown. Very good school community, decreased enrollment. It's a brand new principal. She was one of the folks who presented, I think it was last meeting or the meeting before, Rachel Rosenbaum. There's definitely some structural assistance that they need in the auditorium, in the gymnasium, and we're connecting them also to Councilmember Marte, because he's their council member. I also did my visit at Baruch Middle School, also a very good middle school, not to take anything away from Morton. Sorry, Erica. It's a great school as well. Morton is great. I'm not taking anything away, but Baruch is also pretty good. That's a pretty old building. They do have accessibility issues. They really do need a ramp in the front to at least get students in the onto the first floor. They've had issues where students have had to leave because there was no accessibility in that building. So we're working with on that as well. So those were the liaison school visits. Oh, Gavin, go ahead.
A couple things. Actually, Aaron and I went to the Community Board 2 Education Committee meeting, and we heard a presentation from families at Morton. And actually, the Community Board Education Committee meeting was held at Morton. So it's interesting to learn a little bit about the history of the school, about the advocacy work that took place over actually quite a long period to get a zoned middle school to that neighborhood, which, they did not have one before 2018. So that was interesting. Also, Rustum and I visited the River School and have had a number of conversations since then with the River School parents, and the work there is ongoing. There is definitely a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that the principal is in compliance with students' IEPs, that there are protections for staff there. And I look forward to hearing more from Kelly's team as well, from the district team, about how they're ensuring compliance with those things.
Thank you. Any other reports? Go ahead, Sam.
I had an opportunity to visit PS 59 as well as PS 340. Both of these schools are very healthily enrolled. It was a pleasure to be able to meet both of the principals. PS 59 has a unique playground situation where their playground is located on the roof. It's a K-5 school, and they had a capital improvement that was in the making for about 9 years. I think they put in a greenhouse, and so they didn't have access to their roof for an entire year, and they just got it back this year. But now there's a different improvement that's on the books for their playground accessory, like the jungle gym and things like that. I think they're just either expanding it a little bit more or replacing some of the older features. And originally, the principal was trying to petition for the work to start over the summer, but I think they're planning to start it in March. So she's a little bit concerned that, the kids just got their playground back, and then it's going to be gone for like another year after having been gone for another year.
Yeah.
So I was a little curious to know, is there any way to speed that process up or work with the SCA to?
Is it SCA that's doing it, or is it facilities? Because it's two separate things. So I guess the first question is, who is doing it? Is it find out who is doing it? And and then from there, we can try to speak to somebody in SCA or facilities.
Okay.
See what the
I'll
story is.
follow up.
Sometimes there is nothing. It is what it is because it's permits and they have schedules. And unfortunately, like at my school, 340, we lost our gym for almost a year. We got it back for 2 months, and then they had to fix the underlying problem. So we're going to lose it for another year, and then they're going to give it to us for 2 months. Then there are going to be upgrades, and we're going to lose it in 2 years. We're going to lose it for a little bit of time as well, and you would think that they would try to do everything together, and there's a bunch of reasons why they can't. So
Right.
we can make inquiries and we can see what the reasoning is, because sometimes there is reason, and sometimes, there's not much we can do.
Okay. All right.
We can talk about it offline.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, on the virtual meeting procedures that I just talked about before, can we just take a hand vote by acclamation if everybody's okay with those procedures? Does anybody want to discuss them? They're very interesting. Okay. I don't know if you want to stay late to discuss this. Okay. Is everybody okay with it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. New business, you had something?
Yeah, so interesting.
Sorry, Councilmember Reed.
This was for the students. And I know you said that you were looking into it or you had this exact question today. I'm curious about what their actual role is in terms of how much participation they are allowed to access in the meetings or express in the meetings, because I didn't realize that students, because we often don't have student members on a lot of councils. I know on CCSE, they came and went, right? I didn't know you couldn't make a motion
I don't know.
or second them. That's what I'm saying, is that nobody knows. And so the fact that they are reimbursed for transportation, obviously, they're like a full member in that way, that, their votes aren't counted, but we take their votes, that they're able to participate in every other way. I'm wondering about the governance part of it, and like, if we can get clarity on it, I think
Yeah.
that would be helpful for across the board, right?
I did, yeah.
For everyone.
The only thing I will say is they obviously, we let them, we
'Cause I have no idea.
we ask them to take their vote. We allow them to vote. They're not required to. We let them vote, although it doesn't count technically in our vote count. That's state law. That is what it is. The other thing that we discussed, we looked at last year, and I got legal input, is they cannot be one of the three sponsors. Like they can join, but they cannot be one of the sponsors of a resolution.
Just like written out. Got it? Is there a chancellor's reg? Who has it? Base?
Base has it.
And is it based just on their own pulling it out, or did they base it on chancellor's reg?
They based it on chancellor's regs. I don't think it's specifically, it's their interpretation of chancellor's regs.
So we have
The voting that's state law.
We know the voting, but
The
everything else is
reimbursements is actually in the FACE handbook. The handbook we get,
So
that
we-
they're
so it's
entitled.
really true,
Yeah.
right? Is there
Sure.
a way to do that before
Sure.
the next meeting?
We
I'm not
yeah.
saying you have to, but.
The thing is, there's always going to be more, to the extent that we know, like there are going to be questions that come up. But in terms of participating in the meeting, we've always allowed, this is going back well before May. I don't know. I'm not a governance person. I don't know if Ina's still here, but. Sorry, we're not in public session, but we'll look into it.
Because I just think it's good for all of us to know, because that made me feel, weird that I don't know that. Like you brought up an excellent point. Sorry, I'm totally spacing on your name. I know your father, but
Ethan.
You brought up a great point, and you were, both of you students were like very active in the discussion of that resolution. Thank you. Even though we might not always agree on things, like you're heard, and I love that. But you basically were trying to make a motion, to make an amendment, and it was like.
Yeah,
not,
is Ina still here?
full, like you couldn't
She's-
actually
okay.
do it. So
Can
I
you
want to
look
make
into
sure
that?
that.
Well, I'll talk to Ina tomorrow. Ina is our liaison to legal, and we'll work with that. Okay, but they participated fully, and I'm glad they did. Anything else? Okay, well, happy Thanksgiving. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. What?
I was laughing because she was laughing.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I think this was actually a good meeting place. I think this was successful. It worked out well. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and see you in a month.
Thank you.
Yep.